confidential case information on other cases. So that's what I believe that Mr. Davis and his attorney were trying to do, was to knock off a certain amount of time off of what he was going to spend in prison.
And you know, or at least you believe, you'd agree with me, that Mr. Davis was a suspect in your homicide, not a witness.
Yes, sir.
And by the end of that interview, what is your intent?
My intent was to drive back to Las Vegas, type up a warrant for an arrest, clear it with the district attorney, and have Mr. Davis arrested for murder.
Now, at that point, did you and members of my team have an opportunity to actually listen to the recording?
Yes, sir.
And we heard the section where you're not in the room, correct?
That's correct.
And then, so did we give you some direction?
Yes. So this is several weeks after I come back. I met with, this is several weeks after I had come back from California with the recording. So we brought the recording and the transcription over. The DA reviewed it, and they invited me over, and they told me that they were not going to go forward with prosecution at that time because they're.
Let me ask,
a lot of complications.
let me ask it this way. Were you directed to find out the circumstances of why it was that a suspect in our homicide was in a room with his lawyer and a task force officer having that conversation?
Yes, sir.
And at this point, you've been told there might be a proffer somewhere out there in 2008.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And proffers are between lawyers and sovereigns, correct?
That's correct.
So it's either got to be the U.S. Attorney's Office or the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, but it certainly wasn't the state of Nevada or the Clark County District Attorney's Office.
That's correct.
And did you make efforts to find out from Wayne Higgins what the nature of that agreement was between him and some other sovereign?
Yes, Mr. Higgins as well as others. Yes,
And you would agree with me that Mr. Higgins wouldn't return our calls.
that's correct.
Did you attempt to contact U.S. Attorney Seawright?
Yes,
And you would agree with me, Mr. U.S. Attorney Seawright, at least at that time, would not return our calls.
correct. Would not speak to me.
And by the time, well, let me ask you this. Based upon that situation, did you get directed to reach out to Darren Dupree to see if we could get leverage on the driver, Terrence Brown?
Yes, I did reach out to Detective Dupree, and Clarence Brown is a gangster operating in Compton, California. So he's going to be committing crimes. I asked him if he gets arrested for whatever reason to give me a call, and I want to come down and talk to him. Yeah.
And ultimately, that never happens. You never get a phone call saying, hey, we got Bubble Up in custody. Come down here. Let's interview Bubble Up.
Correct. Bubble Up is the street name for Mr. Brown.
And so by the time you retire in 2017, we have no statement from Bubble Up.
No.
And we still don't know the circumstances surrounding why those three people were in a room talking to you.
No, I believed I did at that time, but obviously I didn't.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Redraft.
Sir, can you tell us who from the district attorney's office you were speaking to during that time period?
Mostly it would be Pam Weckerly.
Who was the other United States or the district attorney as well besides Pam Merkley?
The entire MVU.
Was Mr. Jard, did you know one of those individuals?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the time, who was the elected district attorney? Was it?
Mr. Wolfson.
Was it Steve Wilson?
Yes.
Now, not David Roger?
Nope, I don't believe he was there anymore.
All right. Now, your testimony here is that you had every intention when you came back to charge the case.
Yes,
And when you came back, you reached out to the district attorney's office and you said, hey, we think we should charge this case.
yes.
And they did not immediately give you a response as to what they were going to do.
No, they told me to stand down and they were going to review it. I got the information to them as quickly as I could. It had to be typed up by one of our secretaries, but I did make sure they got the audio as quick as they could. There was plenty of probable cause to arrest for murder.
Sure. Now, just for the jury's edification, probable cause is not beyond reasonable doubt. Fair?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Probable cause is not beyond reasonable doubt, right?
No, that's what we do here.
That's correct. And in terms of the information that you had learned at the time that you met with Mr. Davis, did you verify any of that information?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Did you verify any of the information in that recording in 2009 that Mr. Davis said?
I wasn't able to.
And once again, verification meaning corroboration, right?
That's correct.
In fact, I think on the recording, you had told Mr. Davis a couple times, look, even though what you're telling me you might say is the truth, I still need to corroborate this information.
That's correct.
And that would have been your standard operating procedure with anyone telling you anything.
That's correct.
So for instance, as you're sitting here right now, do you have any,
I'm going to object to leading. It's his witness.
I'm sorry, I'm so
It's
used to
hard,
it.
I know.
Let me ask it this way.
You're gonna rephrase.
Yes, I'll rephrase. Did you make, was there any information did you ever receive about whether or not Mr. Davis was in Las Vegas in September of 1996?
Well, objection leading.
He can say yes or no. Overrule.
Did I?
And was there, did you ever have, when you reviewed the file in this case, were there any people calling in saying that they did it? They did the murder?
Sure.
I mean, can you give us a number or an amount?
There was a lot. There was quite a few. I mean, I had information that Bill Clinton had him killed. I mean, there was no, we did not follow up. There was a lot of calls, a lot of people claiming to have been involved. No.
And fair to say
Most
though,
of the time they couldn't get any of the information correct.
right. And so when you're determining, for instance, a confession, what are you looking for? Like if someone says, I confess to this, what information do you use to determine whether it's correct or not?
They're like, what kind of vehicle were you in? How did the shooting occur? What kind of firearm was it? Where did you go from there? What preceded it? How did you, all of it. I mean, anything that you can find as in facts, you want to connect to them. I'm behind the eight ball because I'm 15 years after the fact or 14 years after the fact trying to corroborate different things. But I mean, I made the attempts.
And with regard to the information that we're talking about here, was any of the information you're sharing with us already available to the public?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was information that's out there. I mean, there was so much interest in the case. I'm sure there was.
No, just finally, in terms of your reaching out to people, Mr. Seawright, who was he?
The Attorney General of California.
And the district attorney's office requested that you reach out to the Attorney General of California?
They were going to do it. I was going to do it. Whoever could do it, which could be great.
And then in terms of the other people, Mr. Dupree or Detective Dupree, when was the first time you ever met Mr. Dupree or Detective Dupree?
I'm not positive.
Was it in the meeting at 2009?
No, I had met him before that.
Can you give us sort of an estimation as to when that was?
A couple of years before. I think it had to do with one of the gun trip, I think is when I met him.
And just for my edification with that gun, was it a real gun?
Yeah, Glock 40. There's a lot of Glock 40s out there. I had no idea there was that many.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Sam said, were you able to corroborate information that Mr. Davis gave you? You're talking about information you didn't already know, correct?
Correct.
There was a substantial amount of information in this file that Mr. Davis, Mr. Brown, Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Smith were in the car the night when the murder occurred.
Yes. The way I took when he asked me that is, did I do corroboration? Brent Becker and Mike Franks, the original detectives, corroborated a lot of different things. I didn't specifically go back in time and do what they did.
You were relying upon the information they already had. So when Mr. Davis is telling you this story, it's not like the crazies that are calling saying, I killed Tupac or Tupac's still alive or all any of that stuff.
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Any redirect? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for Detective Long? If you have a few.
All right, so they're taking questions from the jury, and we're just joining this in progress. And the most important information that we got here was that this individual officer did not corroborate any of the information that he received about Keefe D. And so this is what we've been saying all along is Keefe D statements are one thing, but they have to be corroborated. They have to be independently verified. And the defense has put on a witness. This is the defense's witness who is saying, yeah, no, they didn't corroborate any of that. And they asked if there were other people who claimed involvement in the case. And he said, yeah, there was tons of them. He even gave an example that Bill Clinton, somebody allegedly said Bill Clinton was involved, and he clearly was not, that we know of, obviously. But this is a good witness for the defense so far.
Oh, we have one more
See
question.
what they say. Oh, they're still discussing the question. My man, Savage Noel, good to see you. You said 2 days ago, maybe it was yesterday, there was a white Cadillac at Suge Knight's residence that was supposedly his parents. Now they're seeing the car.
Your lieutenant said 2 minutes
Interesting.
before going into the Tupac murder file, what did they need?
Yeah, good question. Officers were curious, and they would go in and see what was in there because there was a lot of stuff in social media. So they were going in to look and read. So he decided that wasn't going to happen anymore because information could get out. So he locked it down.
Were you the only one assigned to Tupac's case?
In 2004, Sergeant Manning handed me the case to do any follow-up. There was a full squad I was on, 6 detectives and a sergeant. All of them were available to help. And we had some very experienced, very talented detectives on the squad. So I would lean on them. Everybody's curious, why would they hand the case to a rookie? But I had access to some very, very experienced, excellent detectives.
Were you able to interview everyone who occupied the cream or white Cadillac? Or is alleged to?
No. I tried to talk to Big Dre, DeAndre Smith. He died that same year. Orlando died in 1998 in a shootout at a car wash. And Mr. Brown died in, I believe it was 2015.
Did you ever interview Suge Knight about the shooting during the interview process?
I tried. I had a partner that had played football with him and knew him very, very well. And I was complaining that I could never even talk to Suge on the phone. So my partner says, oh, I can make a phone call. We can have it right now. And he made a phone call, talked to Suge, and Suge hung up on him. So it was same old, same old.
Do you know which arm was hurt, right or left arm, for Orlando Anderson?
No, I do not. Sorry.
Were you able to verify and confirm Mr. Davis was actually in the white Cadillac Black the night of Tupac's murder? Yes, that's the question. Sorry, the handwriting.
I'm sorry,
is-
can you read it again?
Yeah. Were you able to verify and confirm Mr. Davis was actually in the white Cadillac the night of Tupac's murder?
Great question.
By Mr. Davis telling me that he was in a white Cadillac on the night of the murder. And that the shooting came from that same white Cadillac.
Any follow-up based on that, Mr. Saft?
But no actual facts outside of what Mr. Davis told you.
No.
No further questions, Doctor.
Mr. DiGiacomo.
Well,
All right, you are excused. Thanks, Detective Long.
Thank you.
look, TBD smiling. That's a mic drop right there for his
Mr.
attorney.
Saft, any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Do you rest?
We do, Your Honor.
What? That's it?
State any rebuttal witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
So you have not reopened your case. Okay, so at this time, the presentation of the evidence in this case is closed. What we have to do amongst ourselves is settle the law that applies to this case. And we are going to have everyone back on Monday at 9 a.m. for closing arguments. Please, during the recess, you're admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else.
Monday at
Subject
9
to
a.m.
the
for
trial,
closing.
or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until it is submitted to you. Please rise for the jury, everyone. All right, the jury is exited. You can be seated. Scheduling wise, what remains to be done is jury instructions being settled. What time do we want to do those tomorrow? I was leaving that up to defense because there were some obligations that they had.
We're still asking for 9 o'clock.
Does 9 o'clock work better for you? We'll do tomorrow at 9 then?
Yes.
And I think we should be done by the time that you need. And Mr. Davis, do you want to be present to settle jury instructions? It's up to you. It's kind of like legal arguments. If you want to be here, we'd be happy to have you. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to. You want to waive your appearance for that? Okay. So I'll then just see the attorneys back 9 a.m. tomorrow. It's not presentation of evidence. It's just settling the jury instructions. Should be pretty quick. And then the next big thing for everyone watching at home is going to be closings 9 a.m. on Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll see everyone back 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you.
9:30 on Monday?
I think I'll have-
Wow. I'm glad I joined this when I did. I apologize for being late, guys. Sorry, I had another meeting. And if it had gone any longer, I would have missed the entirety of this. I didn't realize it was going to be this quick. Was that the only witness the defense called? Or was there two? Looks like, I'm sorry, I missed it. So somebody let me know in the chat, but I think that was the only witness. But this goes with what we were saying.
The last one that you had was
Wait.
a cream colored
Wait, wait.
Cadillac.
Yes,
Go
and
back.
why do
What
you
did
remember
we-
that vehicle?
just pointed out to me at the time. It was occupied by two black males.
Hold on. Oh, actually, that's not a bad idea. Wait,
For the record.
we can go back. Should I do that, or do you guys just want to talk about this?
Approximately 15 vehicles came through, and the last one being Sugar Knights.
Okay, now, regarding to the entourage of vehicles, where did they go?
In through the gate, I never.
Let's pause this for now, though, and talk. We'll get back to this. But this is huge. The defense rested. I mean, it's like we talked about yesterday. If you joined us, I do not think the state has met its burden of proof whatsoever. And this defense attorney, Sam, he's doing a great job. And this last witness, I think they handled it correctly. He asked him, it was actually a jury instruction. This was smart on the defense attorney's part because, or not the jury instruction, but a jury question from a juror. But they asked if they were able to prove or that QPD was in the Cadillac. And he said no. The officer said no, that he could not. And the defense attorney said, yep, no further questions. And that's it. Because he said the only way he was able to verify the information was from QPD's own story. Well, I think that's it. I don't see very much likelihood that QPD gets convicted here. And it sounds like the jury is on the same page because that question from that juror, that spoke pretty loud where their position is. But yeah, I think that I'm going to go back and restream some of this because it was so short, and I'd love to know what you guys were talking about and what you were thinking. And then also, I do eventually want to talk about, because I did my research last night, like you guys had suggested. I went back and watched the documentary Frank Alexander made, heard all the things with Reggie Wright. I did some other investigating myself. And I'll be honest with you, I have an interesting idea where I kind of feel like all of this ties together. Because yesterday we were saying that there was two potential storylines that may have happened, or two ways it could have happened. Either KPD and the Crips did it and it was pretty straightforward, or Reggie Wright Jr. was involved in it and potentially should, or whatever. However, after going back and looking through all this, what if both of those things are true? And from all the conspiracy theories that you guys have given me, I went back and put one together that kind of could make sense and tie all of it together. But for now, I'm going to go back, and I mean, since this was so short, and I'm sure there's other people who missed this too, but why don't we watch and see what it is that we missed. So let me see if I can go back to the beginning of this. It's only an hour and 18 minutes. I agree with you, Savage Noah. I think she's doing a great job. She seems very fair. She doesn't really get frazzled, and she's commanding respect, but in the nicest way. And she also graduate from the University of Illinois, so we're alumni.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now into the defense case in chief. Mr. Stamp, who will be your first witness?
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to call Stan Height. Please stand.
Okay.
I agree with you. There's no proof he was in Vegas. I agree with you. And this is how, thank you for this. This is how I feel too. That there wasn't any physical evidence to tie him to the murder. That's the thing. So he might be telling the truth. He might have done this, but without any physical evidence tying him to it. Sorry, I didn't mean that. But yes, hello. Thank you. Yeah, no, I can't. We're going to have a great talk later because I actually feel like I was able to make some of this stuff make sense. Give you a little taste of it. It does seem like Tupac was having issues with his money at death row and was potentially moving moving on and had something much more lucrative going, Quincy Jones. But
Stan
I'll
Height,
get into that later.
HYT.
Thank you, sir.
There
Whenever
was
you're ready,
more than
Mr.
one
Stan,
witness.
you may proceed.
Sir, I'm turning your attention back to the year of 1996.
Yes.
How were you employed?
I was with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I was an officer working overtime on that date.
Okay, and when you say you were working overtime, how does that work exactly? Explain to the jury.
When there's certain special events, they ask people officers to sign and volunteer to work overtime assignments. They pay time and a half.
And you know what the reason was for the need for additional officers on this particular night?
It was a night that Mike Tyson was fighting. It was a collective of people getting together for partying. They wanted to keep the peace, basically, keep things civil.
Right, and with regards to those types of events back in the day when we had boxing as our main feature,
Right.
there's a couple of us in the audience that probably is unfamiliar with how Las Vegas was. Can you describe for us a little bit about the just overall amount of people coming to Las Vegas for something like a fight?
Well, Mike Tyson was a big name. Obviously, I'm sure most of you all know him. He was making like $30 million a fight. He was winning his fights within a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I think that particular night he did also. He won one of his fights, got paid big, and they were ready to party.
Now, and just to be fair, your role was not to deal with the Mike Tyson fight.
No, it was the Sugar Night event. Yeah.
So you were, and just explain a little bit for the jury, what were your role that night? What were you supposed to be doing?
Basically, just keep the peace, make sure there was no fights, no shootings, nobody get killed type thing.
Okay.
That was basically our.
And when you say you were there to make sure to keep the peace, where exactly were you?
At Suge Knight's residence, there were several of us hired to do this assignment.
I'm now going to show you what's been marked and admitted
Yeah, well, admitted by stipulation, Judge.
Okay.
by stipulation. Looks like defense BBB, defense AAA, defense YY. May I approach her?
Okay. Those may be admitted.
Just take a look at these until maybe recognize.
Yes, that's the area that we were assigned, right?
You have
That's the
it,
okay. Yeah.
and then just look at this one as well.
It's the same one. And that's an extended view of it. Yeah.
I just joined too not too long ago. Are you guys telling me that Suge was in a white Cadillac? Or there was a white Cadillac at
Showing you
Suge's parents' house? Is that what I'm about to
marked
find out?
as defense
This is
exhibit
gonna be
YY.
amazing.
This, can you explain to the jury what this image is here?
This is a neighborhood involved. The green area, the park area up above would be.
So what you can do, sir, because we don't have a way for you to
Okay.
do that. First and foremost, is this an overall view of the Las Vegas Strip? Looks like the airport and a few other things.
Yes.
Okay. You could actually step down off
Okay.
chair one and just point to an area that we're talking about. But before you do that, I'm going to show you what's been marked and admitted already as defense exhibit AAA. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury what this photograph is?
That's the area of the. I think it's Sierra Rancho Estates, where Suge Knight lived.
Okay. So up over here, just for the jury's edification, what would this be?
It's just a desert area.
Okay. Are you sure that's not the airport?
Is it?
Jeez.
I don't see any runways, but
Okay.
I'm gonna have to take your word on that one.
That's fine.
Okay.
Down over here, do you recognize what this is here?
It's a golf area.
You can get a little closer if you want to that screen if it helps you with your vision.
You know, this is 20 years ago, and I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's almost 30 actually.
Yeah, basically it's just Sunset Park, the whole, that's all.
All right. If you could just help us out real quick and just point to the general area in which you were assigned that particular night.
Okay, I believe it was, I can't with any certainty, I'm sorry.
Jeez, this poor witness.
So what we're looking at here.
No, it was adjacent to the park, I'm not getting it's been too long for me.
Okay. You can guys just sit down for that. Don't worry about that.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's been 30 years. Now, let me ask you this, though. Fair enough to say, as a police officer,
That's a good
If you
one.
are called to testify, God forbid, 30 years after an event occurs, what would be the material you would use to help protect your
My officer's report at the time.
Right, and with regard to these officers' reports, for instance, critical piece of your tool set as a police officer?
Very critical.
So like in this case there, and you don't remember 30 years later certain things? Yes?
Right.
Okay,
I've really never patrolled that area. That was just an assignment for that one night for me.
sure,
I've always been in the Northwest. So
no
I
worries.
wish I could have identified Suge Knight's residence better.
Now, in this particular regard, I'm going to turn your attention to the Suge Knight residence. Can you tell us what you actually did at the residence?
I was with another officer and we were at a gate and we basically stayed at the gate while an entourage of vehicles came through. Approximately 15 vehicles came through and the last one being Suge Knight's.
Okay, now with regard to the entourage of vehicles, where did they go?
In through the gate. I never went in through the gate, so I didn't see where they went after they entered the gate.
Okay. And with regard to the vehicles that went in, did you recognize or give note of any of the vehicles that were in there?
The last one was Suge Knight's. It was a cream colored Cadillac.
What?
And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. The last one that you had was a cream colored Cadillac.
Yes.
And why do you remember that vehicle?
Just pointed out to me at the time. It was occupied by two black males.
Okay.
And I didn't know Suge Knight at the time. I was kind of, interested in, looking for Tyson at the time. And they just pointed that vehicle out to me as Suge Knight's.
Yeah. And fair to say, though, that at sometime in the future, you were asked to obviously write a report on that particular issue.
Yes,
That was your officer's report.
yes.
And in that officer's report, did you include the mention of a cream colored Cadillac with two black male adults in it?
I did.
Now, after your view of the Cadillacs going into the residence, how long after that did the shooting of Tupac Shakur occur?
Probably half an hour later that they came out. And it was probably 10 minutes later, Mike Tyson actually entered. It's probably another 10 minutes after he came out again. And it was probably 10 minutes after that the shooting took place.
Okay, and just for the jury's edification, when you say Mike Tyson entered, meaning he came into the residence.
He came in, but not with the entourage of the first 15. First 15 vehicles went into the gate. They all came out again. Mike Tyson went in the gate. He came out, and then we left. And at that point, maybe it was approximately 10 o'clock, I think the shooting took place.
I'm sorry, this is Suge's house, his
Sir, I have no
residence.
further questions of you.
So
Thank you.
after the fight, Mike Tyson came over there. Wait.
Hang on, Mr. Hay.
Hold on, buddy.
There might be
You
cross.
got me cross examined.
Mr. DiGiacomo, do you have any cross?
This poor witness, he doesn't even know how court
Yes.
works.
If you could explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when officers at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department want to work overtime, they can sign up for special events, and then the police department assigns you where to go for that particular event.
Yes.
And usually that works by a business or a lawyer or something setting up with the sheriff or one of the sheriff's employees.
Sorry. Since we're going back and watching this, I'm going to pause. All due respect to this prosecutor from the state. Hey, man, we don't care about the overtime right now. You better ask him about this Cadillac that he just said that was at Suge's house. You need to focus on that because that's reasonable doubt. I've never heard this. You're telling me Suge had a cream-colored Cadillac, the murder car, the potential murder car at his house in the entourage? Yo, we got to talk about this. Ask him about that. Forget about this overtime. All right, let's go.
Employees a special request for, hey, I want officers for this particular event.
We have a special event. We had a special events section of the police department that businesses that would promote events would contact, and they would ask how many. They would ask how
He's got
many
his phone on too.
officers they need.
This guy really a
and
cop?
Officers would be,
Wait, have you ever been to court
called.
before?
and then we would.
You didn't even know he was
show
going to get
up
crossed
and
with him. Try to walk off.
And so on this particular
Yeah,
night,
where
it was
is the
Metro
guy,
that
though?
assigned you to this location
I bet
in
you she
order
could
to
really
keep
shed a
the
lot of
peace
light
for
on this.
whatever reason.
Yes.
You indicated that you were mainly at the guard gate.
Yes,
And you saw a sequencing of events that occurred at the guard gate.
yes.
At some point after the homicide, did somebody direct you to write your report?
Yes.
And during the course of that, did you know well, first of all, who directed you?
I believe it was my lieutenant at the time.
Your lieutenant said, hey, we should document this.
Yes,
And one of the things you documented was not only that you were there, but that the guard gate security detail was called Allied Security, and that they maintained a log of the vehicles that went in and out.
I believe that's correct.
Thank you very much. Nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Sam?
Yes, Mr. Hyde, just one final thing. When you're doing this kind of
Hold on. Why did it do that? Go back to where we were.
call to testify, God forbid, 30 years after an event occurs, what would be the material you would use to help protect your
My officer's report at the time.
Shoot. Sorry, guys. I accidentally went back too far. Let's figure this out.
Anything further, Mr. Sam?
Yes, Mr. Hyde, just one final thing. When you're doing this kind of work, it's for additional hours, right?
Yes,
What were you wearing on that particular night?
uniform.
And is that always the case?
Yes,
So even if you're like, say, not at Suge Knight's residence, but say at some other club area in the parking lot, you'd still be wearing your uniform?
yes.
No further questions, John.
There are different bureaus that can get assigned different things. I was uniformed, so I was always
you-
uniformed.
You shouldn't be
There may
talking
be
right now.
detectives or others that would respond differently, but my assignments were, I was uniformed, so I was always in uniform.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
1 second.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? We have some.
Ask him about this Cadillac. This is probably the most interesting thing I've heard in this entire case so far. That there was a white Cadillac at Suge's house and it was in the entourage. Which means the shooters could have been part of the entourage. That's what this is implying. If this isn't reasonable doubt in and of itself, I don't know what is.
Did you notice any damage or bullet holes on any of the cars that came through the gates at Suge Knight's residence, especially the white Cadillac?
No, there was no damage done.
No damage. Were any of the crew members carrying guns?
I didn't see any guns on any of the entourage people, no, because they were all in their cars. We all had guns,
Okay, got it.
uniform.
Got it. Did you see the cream colored Cadillac leave?
Yes. They all left.
Okay, when was that?
Close to 10 o'clock, I would say,
Okay,
maybe 9:30-ish.
got it. Mr. Sant, any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
No,
Okay, thank you. Now you're free to go,
Okay.
Mr. Hyde. Have a good day.
you too.
Thanks.
Boy, I didn't know the
Mr.
defense
Sampson,
had
that's it.
this. The defense had this evidence in the tuck the whole
Your Honor,
time.
we'd like to call Charles Mangrum, please, to the stand.
Charles Mangum? Okay.
Golly. And why didn't the prosecution follow up on that? Why didn't they ask him about that? This man just said that he saw a white Cadillac or cream colored Cadillac at Suge with the entourage. Why wouldn't the prosecution follow up on that? That's going to sink your case, buddy. You got to ask him about that. Are you sure? Ask him about his memory. You recall this? Because, sorry, hold on, I got to pause this. Because if I was the state's attorney, I would be asking him all kinds of questions because clearly this guy couldn't even figure out how to do the map. And he was saying, oh, I don't know, it's been 20 years. I don't remember. The defense attorney had to tell him, actually, it's been nearly 30 years. But he doesn't seem like he has the best memory. Yet, he just casually dropped, oh, yeah, I saw a cream-colored Cadillac at Suge's. It was part of the entourage. The prosecution on cross needed to hammer this. They need to ask all kinds of questions about this. What are you sure about this? and cast. And if they're trying to win this case, you got to cast doubt on that. You got to find a way to challenge his credibility. And it seems like there was a lot. The poor guy, he was done. He was done with his direct examination. He tried to get up and leave and tell him, no, sorry, buddy, you need to be cross-examined. And then after the defense attorney told him no further questions, this guy is adding to it. Oh, this case is amazing. This case is amazing. Anyway, let's get back to it. You're right about that, Corey. This is getting real interesting. But I don't see how you can convict TPD anymore. I'm sorry. But then again, who knows? If they brought this out, I'm curious what else is going to be brought out. Why is this? This is the first time I've ever heard this. Has anybody else heard this before today? Anybody follow this case? What about you, Savage Noel? Did you hear about this before?
You may be seated.
Yes, they should have asked who was driving the Cadillac. Who was in the Cadillac? He did say
May I
two
please
people.
have you state and spell
Like,
your first and last name for the
man.
record?
Charlie Mangrum, CHARLIEMANGRUM.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Stamp, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mangrum, turn your attention back 30 years from now.
Okay.
On the night of September 7th, 1996, what were your employee doing?
I was assigned as an overtime officer
Again,
in charge of 3 other police officers to monitor a party that was supposed to happen at Suge Knight's house located on Tamiyasu.
Okay, I'm going to show you here some maps. I just wanted to see if you can help identify where this is located. May I approach?
Yeah, you may.
For the record, showing you what's been marked and admitted. This would be Defense Exhibit CZ.
You don't have that? That one's not admitted yet.
Oh, I have not. Let me get that back up there. This is Defense Exhibit YY, Defense Exhibit AAA, and Defense Exhibit BBB. Just take a look at this one. When you're done.
No, I was asking, is this the first time that you've heard about the white Cadillac or cream colored Cadillac being at Suge? This is the first time I've ever heard that, or that it was part of the entourage. I was wondering if this is your first time hearing it too.
Okay.
You recognize those aerial photographs?
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Let me just go ahead and say that they've been admitted already by a stipulation between the parties. I'm going to just put this up on the screen for everyone to see.
Okay.
So with regards to the first photograph here, which would be, I'll take it from this. The first aerial view here, this would be.
That's actually a good
YY.
point. I'm sure Frank Alexander would have paid attention to this.
You recognize this?
I find it hard to believe he never realized that.
Yes.
Now,
Good point.
just a general idea though, what is this a image of?
It's an aerial view of the gated community where Suge Knight lives.
Okay.
Of Tamiyasu.
All right, and just because of the fact that we're looking at an overall aerial view, it looks like it's Las Vegas.
Yes.
Can you step down and just point to the jury where on this photograph is the location of Suge Knight's house?
On this.
Yeah, you can step down. Thank you, sir.
This was a gate in Suge Knight's house.
Gotcha.
Just about next door to the gate.
So you heard about it before.
So just for our edification.
This was my first
it
time
looks
hearing
like
about
there
this.
Is a, what that be an airport that's right there to the left?
Yes, Terry Reid Airport.
Okay. And the major cross streets that would be the area which we're talking about here, would that be what, Sunset and Eastern?
Tamiyasu runs to Sunset, and Eastern is to this direction.
Now, I'm going to show you now what's already been marked and admitted as Defense Exhibit AAA. Is this a closer image of the area that we're talking about?
Yes.
All right, can you point to the jury where that area is?
Sunset Park. And this would be this is Suge Knight's area here. That should be Tamiyasu.
Okay. And then just one final image here. I'm showing you what's been admitted to by stipulation, ZZ. Can you describe or tell the jury what we're looking at here?
Mr. Stamp, this
This is
isn't
the-
admitted.
Tamiyasu would
I'm
run
sorry.
up to
Sir, Mr. Meckler, for talking for quick second.
Yes, I apologize. Mr. Sampson and I stipulated to all of these maps. I think maybe he didn't make the best record about that. So, but all of the maps that he has, we agreed to by stipulation.
Okay,
Sorry,
it's admitted via stipulation. Go ahead.
thank you. And that's ZZ. Go ahead, sir.
yes, this would be Tamiyasu, and Suge Knight's house would have been just on the north of the main gate that we were working that night.
Okay, and that's all we need for you for that purpose. Now, in terms of what your job was that night, what were you assigned to do?
Apparently, there had been other parties following Mike Tyson fights at Suge's house, and the HOA or association had some issues with the number of people and the number of uninvited guests that showed up, and they wanted to have some police officers there to help keep the peace.
All right, and can you tell us what you were wearing on that particular night? in
I was
uniform?
wearing a uniform,
All right.
police uniform.
And when you were there, were you able to notice any of the traffic of vehicles going in and out of the residence area?
Yes.
Can you describe for us any of the vehicles that had either gone in or out of the resident area?
Yes, at approximately about 10:10, 10:15, Suge Knight driving a BMW, blue BMW with Tupac in the passenger seat, came to the gate, and followed by, I believe, probably 5 or 6 other vehicles in line, which I described in my OR report.
Okay. Now, just to make sure I'm clear with the R report, you don't have to do that right now, but with regards to your R report, is that something that you do as a police officer, is write a report?
Yes,
Now, in this case, obviously, you're just helping with potentially a party that takes place. There's no party that takes place, right?
no,
Were you asked by anyone to write a officer's report after your time working on this particular night?
yes, I was. I don't recall who that was, so, yeah.
That's fine. And so the officer's report you wrote, fair to say that that's something that you have done throughout your career as a police officer?
Absolutely.
And what's the reason for an officer's report?
Documentation, so that in the future, you have something to go on if need be.
I caught
Now,
that
with
too.
regards to your recollection for
It
that
was
night,
dark.
did
It was black.
what were
Maybe,
the other vehicles
yeah.
that you remember
But yeah, he said
entering into the residence area of Suge Knight and leaving the area of Suge Knight's residence?
Well, Suge and Tupac were there approximately 30 minutes, and they exited back out, followed by a cream-colored Cadillac, compact vehicle that was occupied by 4 females,
cream colored
and,
Cadillac again.
a few other vehicles that I have referred to my officer's report on. But later on, following the time that Tupac and Suge left, Mike Tyson showed up as a passenger in a Bentley, followed by another Bentley that I believe was Don King's son. And we informed them that Suge Knight had told us that the party was no longer going to happen.
I see.
And then they turned around and left.
I see. And then your report was written at how long after the event that occurred that you're telling us did you write your report?
Sorry, I'm just curious because this can go into the conspiracy theory. We'll talk about later, but why? So if I'm understanding this, initially Suge was going to have a party at his house. They go back there, they're there for half an hour, then they leave. And then after that, Mike Tyson shows up for the party. But Suge told the officers to let Mike know that the party's not happening anymore. Why would Suge plan a party at his house, an after party for Mike Tyson, and then cancel it? Like I'm curious how that happened, because it's not like, and he said the party was canceled. He didn't say, tell Mike the party's at 662. He said the party's canceled. And so, but how were they planning on having a party at Suge's house if they were supposed to go to 662? There's either miscommunication or something fishy with this alleged party at Suge's house. But anyway,
It's dated the 19th of that month.
All right. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
ask him about the white Cadillac prosecution.
Mr. DiGiacomo, you may cross.
Mr. Giacomo, you don't ask him about this white Cadillac.
You wrote this report at the direction of homicide?
I'm not sure. It might have been the PIO's office or someone investigating the case.
On the second page of your report, it shows this was copied to Detective Brent Becker, P number 2838/homicide. So
Okay.
this would have been something that you would have sent to homicide to let them know this information.
Yes.
Now, in looking at your report, you indicate that, would you agree with me that at 21:30 hours, it's you and Officer Quick that are actually at the residence of Mr. Knight talking to somebody there, and Mr. Knight's not home?
No.
Then you say at 2200 hours, Officers Schmidt and Height were at the guard gate
Yes.
when the cars came in.
When they started to come in, yes.
And then at 22:15 hours or 20 hours is when you arrive at the gate.
Yes. Approximately, yes.
And at 22:30 hours is where Suge Knight driving a black BMW with Tupac Shakur in the driver's seat, followed by the rest of the caravan, leave the residence.
Yes.
Now, what you received today, I believe you have there is a 2-page report. And mine's a lot, has a bunch of attachments to it, so I just want to show you.
No.
So that appears to be your 2-page report.
The officer's report.
There you go, look at the front. Is that your officer's report?
Yes.
I'm thinking the same thing.
And then behind it has basically all the various special assignments going on that night in the valley. You need your glasses to look at that.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this.
All right.
Okay.
And that's just Metro kept record of all the various special events that evening and who was assigned where in case we need to
Correct.
look into that later.
Correct, yeah.
And then after that, there appears to be the gate log with the plate numbers of all the vehicles that were going in and out of that particular gate.
Okay.
Does that look accurate?
I
Okay.
haven't seen it.
Plate log.
Never seen it.
By looking at that, does this suggest to you that Metro Homicide in 1996 followed this lead and followed up on it?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, as to leading.
It's a cross-examination.
Oh, yeah, you're on cross. I
I'm on cross.
Sorry, this is weird. Yeah.
overruled.
Thank you. I have nothing. Oh, and when that white Cadillac left that guard gate, it was occupied by 2 black males as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Sant, anything further on your redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, just with regard to the last question that was asked by Mr. Giacomo, sir, he says that it was a white Cadillac. It was either white or cream, as far as you know. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
That's what you wrote in your report.
yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, anything further, Mr. DiGiacomo?
No.
On cross. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? We may have one.
That's a good one too. You're right. You're right. Definitely code. Yeah. Good catch. So about this white Cadillac, then they said there was the plate logs. So I'm assuming they had the license plate for the white Cadillac. That's the state just asked about that, but they didn't go into detail.
A question from one of our jurors. Could you say what model of caddy?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Sam?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. DiGiacomo?
No, Your
Okay, thank you, sir. You are free to go.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the defense would like to call Dan Long to the stand.
Okay.
So why didn't they investigate this? This, I mean, I don't know if this is what made people point to Suge, but hey, look, after hearing this is, I mean, this adds to the conspiracy theory. Yo, this is powerful evidence here. Definite reasonable doubt. Yeah, no, exactly that. Exactly that. They're trying to pin it on somebody else, which
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this section shall be the truth.
I don't know if they were
and the
protecting
truth, so help
Suge
you God.
I do.
or
Seated.
what the case was.
May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Dan Long.
I wish Suge would confirm this too,
DANLONG.
but I seriously doubt that he
Thank you,
will.
sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Sampson.
You never
Thank you,
know.
Your Honor.
I'm talking a lot
Mr.
on
Long,
TV and stuff.
taking your attention back 30 years to September of 1996. How were you employed?
Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
And at the time, what was your assignment?
I was a detective in gang crimes.
Do you recall the night of September 7th, 1996?
I do.
What were you doing at that particular time?
I was on a gang enforcement team, and we had stopped a bunch of juvenile males about a block, more than a block, to the east and to the south. We had been requested to patrol that area because there had been some incidents, and they wanted to know if these were gang members. We had stopped them. We were talking to them. They were not gang members. And then we heard a volley of gunshots.
Okay, and when you say to the east and south, where exactly to the east and south are we talking about?
I'm sorry, Koval and Flamingo. We are one block to the east, and we were on a side street to the south. That area doesn't exist anymore.
Showing you a map here, an aerial photograph. This is defense exhibit YY. You recognize this this map or this aerial photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and what is this of?
It's Flamingo and Sand Hill. I'm sorry, Flamingo and Koval is where the shooting occurs. The airport's right to the south. Carriage House is just to the south of where the shooting occurs. And we were, if you zoom in, I could show you where we were.
Here's what we'll do. If you could just step out of your chair, just get up next to the screen. I'm gonna get this a little closer for everyone to see so we can figure out where you're at. Does this help?
been bulldozed. You can see where the streets and the alleys had been right here. There used to be an apartment complex right there. There was one alley, two streets, and the area command that had that area wanted us to check to see if these were gang members. We went in, we stopped some juvenile males. They were not gang members, they were just juvenile males. While we were standing there talking to these males, we heard about the gunshots. We didn't want to talk to these males anymore, so we jumped in our vehicles and we moved to the shooting scene.
Okay. And what you're pointing at for the jury, just for the record, is the intersection of Koval and Flamingo?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, fair to say, of course, you're there conducting your business as a member of the gang unit.
That's correct.
You weren't there for overflow or anything to do with special events
No.
for the fight?
No.
Okay. Now, for some of us who weren't around during this time period, can you describe for us a little bit about the activity that was going on at the time in terms of the streets and people walking around when you heard the shots being fired?
It was packed. It was extremely, there was people everywhere, people walking, traffic was fully backed up. We had to get into the intersection, we had to use, we were in non-marked cars. So we were in plain cars. We moved into the intersection using red lights and sirens. We moved across, people were waving at us and pointing. There was a vehicle there that became of interest to us. Some girls had been shot at. While we had gotten out to talk to them and find out what was going on, we had no idea this was attached to anything. One of the guys on my team, Dino Kelly, found some cartridge cases in the street. So we started moving our vehicles in the area to block off traffic so they wouldn't get run over and putting up yellow tape.
Now, once again, were you in charge of the investigation of either the shooting or the eventual homicide?
No.
All right. So at the time in 2000 or 1996, you were anything other than your gang unit detective?
Right. And at that time, we had found a shooting scene. We don't know what we have. So we're just securing the scene in case there are victims. And then we would find out what was going on.
At some point in the future, though, as you progress in your career, did you ever at any point leave the gang unit?
Yes.
And what did you do after that?
In 2000, I was invited to test to go into homicide. I then tested for homicide and went into homicide.
And what year was that?
2000.
Now, during the time that you were in homicide, that would have been from 2000 to roughly when?
I retired from the department in 2017.
So you spent 17 years in homicide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, during the time period that you were in homicide, were you ever assigned the case involving the Tupac murder?
Yes.
Okay. You had to stay a little bit. I just want to make sure. You were given the assignment at some point.
Yes, I was. 2004, my sergeant, Kevin Manning, handed me the file and said I would follow up any further leads.
All right. And can you explain to us a little bit about how that works? You're a detective. The file had been with somebody else prior, Detective Becker.
Yeah, Detective Becker and Detective Mike Franks.
And now you have the file. So
Yes.
what do you do as a detective when you're handed a file that's already been worked on?
You read it. You read it. I went through the pictures. I then discussed it with my sergeant. I went down to California. There was a lot in that file, and I didn't know Compton very well. I didn't know Compton at all. So I went down. I had ridden in the gang unit with gang detectives, and I knew them still. So I called and said, "Can you take me around and show me these things?" So we drove around Compton. They showed me houses where the Compton Crips lived. They showed me where Orlando Anderson died. They showed me a lot of different things. And Compton was very small, but it was very impacted with gangs.
Now, during this time period, can you describe for us a little bit about was there still an interest in the murder of Tupac at the time that you took over the case? Meaning, was there media attention? Maybe not to the level it was in the beginning, but was there still issues with regards to access to the file and that kind of thing?
Yes, there was.
And
Now I know where you're going.
yeah, and what I mean by that initially is that even in Metro, was there any concerns on your part about unauthorized access to the file?
Not by me, I wasn't concerned, but my lieutenant had become concerned and wanted to sequester the file away from everybody else because there was a lot of people going in and looking. Very, very famous person.
And with regards to the
Wait, what?
the going in and looking, can you describe to the jury what type of activity we're talking about here in terms of going in and looking?
I didn't do any investigation in this, but my lieutenant told me that people had been going in and being curious, looking at the file.
Did you at any point, was there any measures that was taken to preserve the safety and security of that file?
Yes.
What were those measures?
They locked down the file itself, which was this, the hard copy of the file. We used to, at that time, we were on a computer drive called the F drive, which turned out to be too small. And they later moved it to another drive because homicide just kept growing. So they changed the way I did my reports. I would hand them in and they were secured.
Okay. Now, we talk a little bit about reports. What reports are we talking about here?
The one that popped into my mind, the very first one, there was supposedly, this was an anonymous tip that there was a rolling 60 apartment over on Reno that was slinging drugs, and that the people that shot Tupac had driven up to this apartment and handed the gun off for drugs. I then attempted to locate, usually gangs are going to rent an apartment, they're going to rent it in a girl's name. So I was looking, and I'm talking 8 years after the fact. I'm talking about trying to find an apartment rented by a girl that has association with the Rolling 60s. I never found it. So I couldn't track down the 60s that may have the gun that would be attached to the killing of Tupac.
I see. And during the time that you were performing your duties as the detective on this particular file, did you ever keep your own officer's reports?
Yes.
And just explain for us a little bit about your, common course of how you would do that.
An officer's report is like who, what, when, where, why. So you say that there was an anonymous tip. Let's just talk about this tip. Anonymous tip at this date. I did these phone calls, met with this apartment complex and couldn't locate anybody that was attached to the Rolling 60s in any fashion. So it literally would be an officer's report that's maybe a paragraph. There was another tip that the gun had been dropped from the shooting vehicle that went back to California that night, and it was on the side of the road. Ridiculous. But 8 years later, we went out, we walked that section of the freeway, both sides, looking for a gun. We didn't find one. That officer's report was about a sentence. And those kind of things, those kind of things are the things that we were trying to run down.
All right. And so in terms of officer reports, fair to say that there would be a lot of officer reports of your efforts in this particular investigation.
Those officers' reports don't exist anymore that I could find.
Okay. And why is that?
From what I was told was when we moved from the F drive to the H drive, those reports had to be scanned, and at some process they were lost.
So what we're relying on, clearly, it would be your recollection of what you remember from that time period.
Correct.
Okay. And once again, if you don't remember, you don't remember.
Okay.
Okay. Now, at some point, though, you have an opportunity to interact with law enforcement officers in Compton. Or is it, no, I'm sorry, at that particular point, it would have been the sheriff's department, LA Sheriff's.
Yes, I usually went directly to LAPD, but yes, the sheriff's office also.
LAPD. Can you tell us a little bit about any interaction you might have had with them specifically about a firearm?
You're talking about the 06?
Yes.
I received a phone call from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department saying that there was a gun recovered by Compton PD in 1998. The yard of 1301 Sloan, which is inside the Compton area, the Compton Crips area, I should say. And they believe that this gun was supposedly buried in the backyard, and it was turned over to the Compton Police Department. The Compton Police Department dissolved. And so the Sheriff's Department was starting to run all these guns through ATF and ballistics. And they believe this may be the gun that we were looking for. They were fairly adamant that this was the gun that we were looking for, that was the murder weapon of Tupac. I then made a drive to LA with my sergeant. We picked up the gun. They had it in a evidence box. I signed a receipt to them that they kept. I then drove the gun back to Las Vegas, drove it directly to our ballistics lab, and I turned the gun over to Jim Krylo. I then filled out a request to have that ballistics tested against the gun that was used to kill Tupac. Before I managed to drive back to the office, I received a phone call and they told me it was not the gun. I told him that he wanted me to come back and impound it and put it into our evidence vault. I told him I'd come back in the morning and I would pick up the gun and I would take it back to LA because it may be of interest to LA in another crime.
And outside of that particular incident, were there any other instances where you found what potentially could be the gun in this situation and had it tested?
Myself, no, but there were thousands of guns that were tested.
And as far as you know, as the responsible detective at that time, were any of those thousands of guns come back with a hit or match to the spent cartridge casings that we found in the scene?
No.
Now, in addition to that, at some point in the future, you travel to California again to conduct an interview.
Yes, sir.
That would have been in 2009.
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about who was there in that interview?
Sure. Myself and my lieutenant, Lou Roberts, made a drive after I received a phone call saying that there's somebody that wanted to give
A
information
lot
about
of
Tupac
mishandling of evidence here.
and Tupac's
Lot.
murder. We then drove down on the morning
Sounds
of
like it was purposeful.
September 9th. They wanted us to meet them at the HIDA office, which is at 1340 West 6th Street in LA, which is about 6 blocks from Plaza One. We met them there. I would then met Detective Darren Dupree, and he told me that Dwayne Davis, also known as Keefe, was in the interview room. He had his attorney present, whose name was Wayne Higgins, and we were going to go in and he was going to give me information. And he further explained that Keefe had got caught with a large amount of narcotics and was trying to work off those charges.
Now, sir, and just to cut you off at that part, I apologize. But with regards to that information, at some point you conduct an interview in that room.
Yes, sir.
With Mr. Davis.
With Mr. Davis, with his attorney. My lieutenant didn't want to go in, so Darren Dupree agreed to go with me.
All right. And there was a recording. Did you record the meeting?
I did.
Okay. And is that just standard operating procedure for what you do as a detective?
Yes, I was told that they were going to record it also, but I wanted to record it myself. That way I have it in my hands.
Okay. And during the course of that meeting, you learned information, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the interaction here? Were you ever asked to leave the room?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us why you were asked to leave the room?
Mr. Davis became very nervous. I was asking questions that he didn't feel comfortable with, which is to be expected. And he asked me to leave the room. He wanted to talk to his attorney and he wanted to talk to Detective Dupree. I then stepped out of the room for not very long, and then they asked me to come back in.
Was there ever a time that you left the room and was accompanied by Mr. Dupree and only had Mr. Higgins and Mr. Davis in the room by themselves?
I don't recall that.
So every time you left, Mr. Dupree was in the room with Mr. Higgins and Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Now, at some point, you were able to learn some information.
From Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
When you came back, did you corroborate any of the information?
I tried.
Okay, what did you do? What efforts did you make?
During the interview, Mr. Davis indicated first that Orlando Anderson or Baby Lane had been beat up at the MGM, which we all had video of. I think everybody on the planet has seen this video. He was complaining that his arm was either broken or out of socket. He first told me that they had gone back to California and had gone to the hospital in California. But he said they went to the hospital on Maryland Parkway, and the hospital on Maryland Parkway is Sunrise, and that he had gotten a sling for his arm. So I filled out a subpoena, and I wanted to know if Orlando had signed in, was examined in any fashion. And now we're talking, this is 2009. We're talking about somebody coming into the emergency room in 1996. So I didn't find anything. They couldn't apply. They couldn't give me anything with Orlando's name on it. I then, we were looking into, there was a rented Cadillac, rented in Compton by a friend of the gang. Her name was, or her daughter's name. There was a woman by the name of Harris, and first name could have been Teresa, could have been Tessa. And again, we're talking multiple years later. But I called down trying to locate a Cadillac that was rented in 1996. They said it was a friend of the gang. So it's very possible that there was no paperwork on it. But we're going to try. I called multiple rent-a-car places because he couldn't remember which rent-a-car place it was. I never found anything connected to that date or those dates around that for a four-door white Cadillac of any kind.
Now, in addition to that, sir, did you ever run at some point any names to determine, sort of help you out with the landscape of who's who and what's what? For instance, did you ever run a name by the name of Darnell Brin?
Oh, you're talking about before the interview.
Yes.
When I received the call that we were going to go down and do an interview, I ran everybody that was in the file. And the purpose of that being is if I'm in the middle of an interview and he mentions somebody, I might have information, this person's in jail, this person's dead, this person's in prison. Those could be very useful to me in the middle of an interview. When I go into the interview, I'm going to be acting very non-informed. I don't know anything. Please tell me. So he's like, okay, we're talking about Pac. Okay, who's Pac? Well, Tupac, Shakur. Okay, so I'm going to do that through the entire interview. But if I have more names and more information, I at least know what he's talking about so I can direct him in the right direction to give me a full name or a full description, whatever it may be. So I ran quite a few people before I went down there.
Okay. So at some point you leave that interview and you come back to Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
Were you ever aware that in 2008, Mr. Davis gave a proffer to the FBI, DEA, Compton PD, LAPD?
While I was there,
Yes.
no. I was told that he had been, Dwayne Davis was arrested on a major drug case, and he was facing the rest of his life in prison. And he was trying to work that case off. So when I was sitting out there and I learned that he's sitting there with his attorney, I'm like, he's not going to tell me anything. They're like, well, he's trying to work this off and it's about Tupac. And I'm like, all right, let's try this. So we went in, but we finished, we made a drive over to Plaza One, then we left. I received some phone calls at that point and received more information when we got back to Vegas that there could be possibly a proffer, which made no sense to me.
Now, just one final question for you, and it's unrelated to anything that we've asked so far.
Sure.
The question is this: are you aware of a program here in town called Barry's Boxing?
I've heard of it.
I have no further questions, John.
Cross, Mr. DeJoffrey.
Detective, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mark? I'm Mr. Giacomo.
You went to homicide in 2000, correct?
That's correct.
And Mike Franks and Brent Becker, well, I guess Mike probably retired before Brent left the unit, correct?
Well, he trained me for a while. Mike was preparing to retire, so the desk I was going to get was his. And I was trying to soak up as much as I could from him because he was a very, very senior detective. Him and Brent Becker were very, very good detectives, so I was trying to suck up as much as I could. That was the squad I was going to anyway.
And when Sergeant Manning hands you the Tupac file, you already had an understanding from Mike Franks and Brent Becker of who you thought was in the car.
Yes, sir.
And when Mr. Davis in 2009 tells you that, it's the same people.
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Samft maybe missed one of your trips to Compton prior to, I guess, November of 2004 when he died. In early 2004, did you try and make contact with Big Dre Smith?
Yes.
And describe that for us.
I was with actually a gang squad, and this is during the time when you can read it all. You can read all this information, but it's better if you go down there and look at it. So I went down to look at it. They were taking me on a tour, most of Compton. They took me to the car wash where Orlando died, that kind of thing. While we were driving by the Emerson Elementary School, which is right in the center of the Compton Creek turf. Some of the guys I was riding in the back seat and taking notes. They said, there goes Big Dre, DeAndre Smith, which is somebody that's obviously in Brent Becker's files. And he was walking through the field, the grass field. So I was like, well, stop, let me talk to him. You gotta try. I have no probable cause. I have no legal right to make a stop. I'm not even in my jurisdiction, but I can try. So I stepped out of the car and I said, Mr. Smith, I'm Detective Long from Las Vegas. And he said, F you and F off. He's not censoring what he said. And he just lumbers across the field. So I had no reason to stop him. So I just waited.
Now, in 2009, you wind up in a room with Mr. Davis, and your belief is he's trying to work off charges. What
Yes, sir.
does that mean?
He's looking at the rest of his life in prison for what they had caught him with. So if he gives substantial information about cases, and that's what they had brought him in for, was to give information about cases. One of the cases was the Wallace case, Notorious B.I.G. During this part of it, he started telling them about Tupac, and this is in 2008, I believe. So that's what I was told.
Why would the prosecutor ask
But
him this
essentially,
question?
and I don't want to talk about specifically, what is just working off your charges?
If
Does
you-
Metro have certain rules, let me ask you, about working off charges and how you work off charges?
Yes, and a non-victim crime, you can work off charges. If you can't work off a murder, you can't work off a sexual assault, you can't work, those are victim crimes. If you have a victim, you can't work off those charges. But if you have something else that, like a lot of drugs, you could work off maybe the amount of years you're gonna do.
This is
by
helping the
giving
defense.
Substantial case information on other cases. So that's what I believe that Mr. Davis and his attorney were trying to do, was to knock off a certain amount of time off of what he was going to spend in prison.
And you know, or at least you believe, you'd agree with me, that Mr. Davis was a suspect in your homicide, not a witness.
Yes, sir.
And by the end of that interview, what is your intent?
My intent was to drive back to Las Vegas, type up a warrant for an arrest, clear it with the district attorney, and have Mr. Davis arrested for murder.
Now, at that point, did you and members of my team have an opportunity to actually listen to the recording?
Yes, sir.
And we heard the section where you're not in the room, correct?
That's correct.
And then, so did we give you some direction?
Yes. So this is several weeks after I come back. I met with, this is several weeks after I come back from California with the recording. So we brought the recording and the transcription over. The DA reviewed it, and they invited me over, and they told me that they were not going to go forward with prosecution at that time because they're,
Let me
there's
ask,
a lot of complications.
let me ask it this way. Were you directed to find out the circumstances of why it was that a suspect in our homicide was in a room with his lawyer and a task force officer having that conversation?
Yes, sir.
And at this point, you've been told there might be a proffer somewhere out there in 2008.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And proffers are between lawyers and sovereigns, correct?
That's correct.
So it's either got to be the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, but it certainly wasn't the state of Nevada or the Clark County District Attorney's Office.
That's correct.
And did you make efforts to find out from Wayne Higgins what the nature of that agreement was between him and some other sovereign?
Yes, Mr. Higgins as well as others. Yes,
And you would agree with me that Mr. Higgins wouldn't return our calls.
that's correct.
Did you attempt to contact U.S. Attorney Seawright?
Yes,
And you would agree with me, Mr. U.S. Attorney Seawright, at least at that time, would not return our calls.
correct. Would not speak to me.
And by the time, well, let me ask you this. Based upon that situation, did you get directed to reach out to Darren Dupree to see if we could get leverage on the driver, Terrence Brown?
Yes, I did reach out to Detective Dupree and Clarence Brown is a gangster operating in Compton, California. So he's going to be committing crimes. I asked him if he gets arrested for whatever reason to give me a call, and I want to come down and talk to him.
And ultimately, that never happens. You never get a phone call saying, hey, we got Bubble Up in custody. Come down here. Let's interview Bubble Up.
Correct. Bubble Up is the street name for Mr. Brown.
And so by the time you retire in 2017, we have no statement from Bubble Up.
No.
And we still don't know the circumstances surrounding why those three people were in a room talking to you.
No, I believed I did at that time, but obviously I didn't.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Redraft.
Sir, can you tell us who from the district attorney's office you were speaking to during that time period?
Mostly it would be Pam Weckerly.
Who was the other United States or the district attorney as well besides Pam Merkley?
The entire MVU.
Was Mr. Giacomo one of those individuals?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the time, who was the elected district attorney? Was it?
Mr. Wolf's.
Was it Steve Wilson?
Yes.
Now, not David Roger.
No, I don't believe he was there anymore.
All right. Now, your testimony here is that you had every intention when you came back to charge the case.
Yes.
And when you came back, you reached out to the district attorney's office and you said, hey, we think we should charge this case.
Yes.
And they did not immediately give you a response as to what they were going to do.
No, they told me to stand down and they were going to review it. I got the information to them as quickly as I could. It had to be typed up by one of our secretaries, but I did make sure they got the audio as quick as they could. There was plenty of probable cause to arrest for murder.
Sure. Now, just for the jury's edification, probable cause is not beyond reasonable doubt. Fair?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Probable cause is not beyond reasonable doubt, right?
No, that's what we do here.
That's correct. And in terms of the information that you had learned at the time that you met with Mr. Davis, did you verify any of that information?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Did you verify any of the information in that recording in 2009 that Mr. Davis said?
I wasn't able to.
And once again, verification meaning corroboration, right?
That's correct.
In fact, I think on the recording, you had told Mr. Davis a couple of times, look, even though what you're telling me you might say is true, I still need to corroborate this information.
That's correct.
And that would have been your standard operating procedure with anyone telling you anything.
That's correct.
So for instance, as you're sitting here right now, do you have any,
I'm gonna object to leading. It's his witness.
I'm sorry, I'm so used to
It's hard,
being
I know.
Let me ask it this way.
Better rephrase.
Yes, I'll rephrase. Did you make, was there any information that you ever received about whether or not Mr. Davis was in Las Vegas in September of 1996?
Well, objection leading.
He can say yes or no. Overrule.
Did I?
And was there, did you ever have, when you reviewed the file in this case, were there any people calling in saying that they did it? They did the murder?
Sure.
I mean, can you give us a number or an amount?
There was a lot. There was quite a few. I mean, I had information that Bill Clinton had him killed. I mean, there was no, we did not follow up on that. There was a lot of calls, a lot of people claiming to have been involved. No.
And fair to say,
Most
though,
of the time, they couldn't get any of the information correct.
right. And so when you're determining, for instance, a confession, what are you looking for? Like, if someone says, I confess to this, what information do you use to determine whether it's correct or not?
They're like, what kind of vehicle were you in? How did the shooting occur? What kind of firearm was it? Where did you go from there? What preceded it? How did you? All of it. I mean, anything that you can find as in facts, you want to connect to them. I'm behind the 8 ball because I'm 15 years after the fact or 14 years after the fact trying to corroborate different things. But I mean, I made the attempts.
And with regard to the information that we're talking about here, was any of the information you're sharing with us already available to the public?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was information that's out there. I mean, there was so much interest in the case. I'm sure there was.
Now, just finally, in terms of your reaching out to people, Mr. Seawright, who is he?
The Attorney General of California.
And the district attorney's office requested that you reach out to the Attorney General of California?
They were going to do it. I was going to do it. Whoever could do it would be great.
And then in terms of the other people, Mr. Dupree or Detective Dupree, when was the first time you ever met Mr. Dupree or Detective Dupree?
I'm not positive.
Was it in the meeting at 2009?
No, I had met him before that.
Can you give us sort of an estimation as to when that was?
A couple of years before. I think it had to do with one of the gun trip, I think is when I met him.
And just for my edification, with that gun, was it a real gun?
Yeah, Glock 40. There's a lot of Glock 40s out there. I had no idea there was that many.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Real briefly. Well, Mr. Sam said, were you able to corroborate information that Mr. Davis gave you? You're talking about information you didn't already know, correct?
Correct.
There was a substantial amount of information in this file that Mr. Davis, Mr. Brown, Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Smith were in the car the night when the murder occurred.
Yes. The way I took when he asked me that is, did I do cooperation? Brent Becker and Mike Franks, the original detectives, corroborated a lot of different things. I didn't specifically go back in time and do what they did.
You were relying upon the information they already had. So when Mr. Davis is telling you this story, it's not like the crazies that are calling saying, I killed Tupac or Tupac's still alive or all any of that stuff.
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Any redirect? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for Detective Long? If you have a few.
This case is so good. This witness, and then finally getting to hear his entire testimony, it's a powerful witness for the defense. The defense put on 3 great witnesses for what they're trying to accomplish. The first 2 established that there was a white Cadillac at Suge's residence and as part of the entourage. This is my first time hearing this, and my goodness, does that create reasonable doubt? Because even if Keefe D was in another white Cadillac, there's another white Cadillac here. Now that raises doubts. And this perfectly goes into the defense's, their strategy poking holes by breathing life into the conspiracy theories, because a lot of people believe Reggie Wright Jr. and Suge Knight were involved in this. And I mean, for good reason, considering that there was a cream-colored or a light Cadillac at Suge's house and in part of the entourage, which everybody says, the eyewitnesses say that was the car that the shooter was in. So we don't know that.
Oh, we have one more question.
Here we go. Me too, Savage Knoll. Like this, well, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised they didn't move for it, because I didn't hear that. Because this is one case, there could have been a directed verdict. This would be the one time that I've seen in all my years, like this had a good chance.
Your lieutenant said too many people were going into the Tupac murder file. What did they mean?
Yeah, good question. Officers were curious, and they would go in and see what was in there, because there was a lot of stuff in social media. So they were going in to look and read. So he decided that wasn't going to happen anymore, because the information could get out. So he locked it down.
Were you the only one assigned to Tupac's case?
In 2004, Sergeant Manning handed me the case to do any follow-up. There was a full squad I was on, 6 detectives and a sergeant. All of them were available to help. And we had some very experienced, very talented detectives on the squad. So I would lean on them. Everybody's curious, why would they hand the case to a rookie? But I had access to some very, very experienced, excellent detectives.
Were you able to interview everyone who occupied the cream or white Cadillac? Or is alleged to?
No, I tried to talk to Big Dre, DeAndre Smith. He died that same year. Orlando died in 1998 in a shootout at a car wash. And Mr. Brown died in, I believe it was 2015.
Did you ever interview Suge Knight about the shootings during the interview process?
I tried. I had a partner that had played football with him and knew him very, very well. And I was complaining that I could never even talk to Suge on the phone. So my partner says, "Oh, I can make a phone call. We can have it right now." And he made a phone call, talked to Suge, and Suge hung up on him. So it was same old, same old.
Do you know which arm was hurt, right or left arm, for Orlando Anderson?
No, I do not. Sorry.
Were you able to verify and confirm Mr. Davis was actually in the white Cadillac the night of Tupac's murder? Yes, that's the question. Sorry, the handwriting.
Sorry,
is-
can you read it again?
Yeah. Were you able to verify and confirm Mr. Davis was actually in the white Cadillac the night of Tupac's murder?
By Mr. Davis telling me that he was in a white Cadillac on the night of the murder. And that the shooting came from that same white Cadillac.
Any follow-up based on that, Mr. Saft?
But no actual facts outside of what Mr. Davis told you.
No.
No further questions, John.
Mr. DiGiacomo?
No.
All right, you are excused. Thanks, Detective Long.
Thank you. The fireworks this time.
Mr. Saft, any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Do you rest?
We do, Your Honor.
State any rebuttal witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
So not reopen your case. Okay, so at this time, the presentation of the evidence in this case is closed. What we have to do amongst ourselves is settle the law that applies to this case. And we are going to have everyone back on Monday at 9 a.m. for closing arguments. Please, during the recess, you're admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected to this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until it is submitted to you. Please rise for the jury, everyone.
I'm surprised the state didn't have a rebuttal witness. Like, just as an attorney, I would have saved somebody just for that, just for a rebuttal witness, because you want that to be like, you have the opportunity to be the last thing the jury hears before going to deliberate. Recency bias is a thing. You do not want to give that to the defense. You have the burden as the state. Like, just
All right, the jury is exited.
you should want a rebuttal witness.
Scheduling wise, what remains to be done is jury's instructions being settled. What time do we want to do those tomorrow? I was leaving that up to defense because there were some obligations that they had.
We're still asking for 9 o'clock.
Does 9 o'clock work better for you? We'll do tomorrow at 9 then?
Yes.
And I think we should be done by the time that you need. And Mr. Davis, do you want to be present to settle jury instructions? It's up to you. It's kind of like legal arguments. If you want to be here, we'd be happy to have you. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to. You want to waive your appearance for that? Okay. So I'll then just see the attorneys back 9 a.m. tomorrow. It's not presentation of evidence. It's just settling the jury instructions. Should be pretty quick. And then the next big thing for everyone watching at home is going to be closings 9 a.m. on Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. We'll see everyone back 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you.
9:30 on Monday?
Go ahead.
All right. There's a lot to get into here. I don't even know where to start. But what I was saying about the state, man, guys, it doesn't seem like they had much of a case. Like, I started to be worried about this. the state's strongest evidence is their only evidence, and that is Keefe D's admissions. You know, all the statements that he made. But the problem is that he had a motive to lie every time. And I want to get to this, brings me to something I want to get to. And somebody mentioned this. I'm going to clear this up. Shoot, I thought I started this in one of the comments. Yeah, this right here. Let's show this. I'm telling you this, in Vegas, you cannot convict a person for their own admission. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Greg, but that's not true. It seems that way, but you actually can convict somebody just off of their admission and no other facts. Savage Noel chimed in to let you know too. One of the cops said they have convicted many people solely off their admission. They can. And what this is, where did this go? Where did this comment even go? I don't know. But anyway, you can. It's called corpus delicti. Basically, and this is in Nevada, this is in most places, the first thing you have to do is establish that somebody died. And this was done. I noticed this. The prosecution, they made sure to establish this. This was through, I think, the medical examiner, whoever was talking about the autopsy photos, but they established that Tupac died. So that's the first part. But the next part is you have to establish that the death was caused by another person. They did that. This was ruled a homicide. There was a shooter. So that's done. Now, so that's satisfied. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, yes, it is legal. It is permissible in Nevada. Once those two things are satisfied, you absolutely can convict somebody based off of their statements alone. You can. However, it's not that easy. And so independent information verifying that makes it a lot stronger, because otherwise you run into the risk of how believable is the person? Is the person lying? Were they telling the truth? And that's exactly what we have here. Is so by only having Keefe D's admission, it calls into question whether he was telling the truth or not. And he has good reason to lie every time he told that story in the admission. The first time was, where did it go? Where they talked about him working it off, working off the charge. And that is exactly what he was doing. And I'm glad they brought that up. I thought somebody asked about that. It doesn't matter. But working off the charge, the drug charge. And that would be him. Then he has to give something in order for people or for the cops to say, okay, this is enough evidence that we won't pursue the drug charge against you. That's what was going on in the proffer agreement. So there's that. Then there's, after he made the statements, he's making them again for monetary gain, for his own book to be on podcasts, to get booked on different platforms, you name it. So that all factors in. But now going back to the prosecution, they put on their case, but it was really just Keefe D's statements. They didn't have anything that independently corroborated Keefe D's story. Because if they had that, because again, the issue now, we know that Keefe D made these statements. We know that he made these admissions. This case boils down to, was Keefe D lying about the statements or not? Was he truthful when he made the statements, or is he lying? The defense says, yeah, because they both stipulate Keefe D made the statements. The state played it. The state is saying Keefe D told the truth when he made these statements, so he should be convicted for it. The defense's position is Keefe D lied, and he was not telling the truth when he made these statements, so he should not be convicted because he did not actually commit the crime. That's it. That's it. That's as simple as I can boil this down. That is what this case revolves around. So if the prosecution, they know the defense is saying that Keefe D lied, and the prosecution needs to present evidence that can back up Keefe D's story. It says, so if he was lying, well, this, and this shows that it's true. This shows he was actually in Las Vegas. This shows, I don't know, he rented the car. This shows he was in the car. There videos, photos, receipts, anything, fingerprints from somewhere. I don't know, but anything that shows that even though he says that he made the story up, no, actually, Keefe D, this part at least is true. Like you were there. That's what they're trying to do. So my problem is they didn't put forth anything, any evidence of that sort, none. And the defense, they were smart because they poked holes and brought up, showed different examples of reasonable doubt. First of all, there was, well, we'll go to the last witness. The last witness said that no, he was not able to verify or corroborate Keefe D's story in any way. He was not able to put Keefe D in the car or even in Las Vegas for that matter. They were not able to. That's it. That's it. That should be it. But you go to the first two witnesses. They dropped a bombshell, in my opinion, to me, because this was the first I'd ever heard of this, that there was a cream colored or white, because they keep saying it's either a white or cream colored car. It's a light colored Cadillac. But either way, there was a white Cadillac that fits the description of the shooter's car with Suge Knight's entourage. So at Suge's house and in the entourage that left when Tupac was shot. So what does this tell us? There was a car that fit the description of the shooter with Suge's group that night and following them. So Suge and Tupac, the black BMW car was first. They had 5 or 6 cars behind them. One of those cars behind them fit the description of the shooter's car. How do you know the shooters were not in that car? They were not part of the entourage. They could have been. This is reasonable doubt because now that explains where the car came from. It was already in position. That explains how they found Tupac and Suge. They were with them. But what else does that do? That shows that it probably wasn't Keefe D. Because I'm pretty sure Keefe D wasn't traveling with them. Then again, you never know. In this case, it could be anything. But that was really powerful. And the defense, they only needed 3 witnesses. It was quick. Oh, I mean, this is pretty much open and shut. Like that was powerful. But then the way trials work, the state goes first because they have the burden of proof here. So they go first. They tell their story first. Then after that, the defense goes. But actually, let me back up because we'll talk about this too. So the state goes first. They present their case in chief, right? Then the defense, actually, the state can do their opening argument first. The defense has the option to do their opening argument then, or they can wait until they present their case. But traditionally, the defense will do their opening argument. Then the state presents their case in chief. At the conclusion of that, which is what happened yesterday, the defense can move for summary judgment or what's called a directed verdict without even putting on a case. So the defense, they do not have to put on a case because they do not have to meet the verdict. The defense could have said, hey, judge, I don't think the state has proven their case. So we just want you to rule for a directed verdict. We don't even want this to go to the jury. They haven't proven their case. And 99 times out of 100, maybe even more than that, maybe even 999 out of 1,000, like the judge is usually going to not rule the directed verdict. They're going to say, nah, let's continue on with this anyway. But if there was ever a case for the judge to move for a directed verdict, I think it was this one. In the state, they didn't meet their burden.
Producer Steve here. They did make that motion this morning.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
What did the judge say? Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. Let me find out.
Well, clearly, she said no.
She just denied the motion. Is all.
Denied the motion. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad they at least did that. It's usually
we were talking about that yesterday. That there was no risk in them doing that today.
Right.
Whereas yesterday they were. I think yesterday it seemed, given how their witnesses weren't there, they weren't expecting the state to arrest yesterday.
Right.
Which means they weren't prepared to make the decision to ask for a directed verdict.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking about tomorrow morning that it's felt very, very likely.
Yeah.
That they were going to do it just to do it.
Well, I'm glad that they did it at least, but yeah, I didn't think the judge would grant it. However, I thought there was as good a chance, if any, in this case. So anyway, then the defense, it's their turn to put on their case in chief, which they did. They did today. It was 3 brief witnesses, brief but powerful. And I think that's the way you do it. Is they were very succinct, got right to it. There wasn't any or very little extraneous information. They trimmed the fat, got right to it, and so the jury could pay attention, and it was efficient. Now, once the defense rests, which is what we just saw, the judge asked the state, do you have a rebuttal case? Now, the way this works is because the state has the burden of proof, they have the hard job here. They go first, the defense goes second, the state has the opportunity to go again. They can go again and put on a rebuttal case, which I highly recommend doing. And I was always taught at school in trial advocacy, if you're the state, you want to put on a rebuttal witness because the recency effect, this is psychology here. Like the jury, there's a bigger impact on the jury with the last evidence they hear, just because it's the most recent thing, the most recent argument. So you want that, and the state needs that. So by them not putting on a rebuttal case at all, man, come on, guys, what are you doing? Like, even if you had to save one witness that you were going to put on in your case in chief, I would have done that. Saved one just to have something else to put on at the end. It just looks better. It will play better. So that's a misstep. It really is. These closing arguments are going to be something. I'm looking forward to these. The state, what are they going to say? Well, Keefe D told you in his own words, he committed this crime. He was in the car. He passed the gun. He told you how it happened. Okay. They cannot say that anybody else or there was any other information proving or corroborating his story. They cannot say that. They just say this is what he told you. And I mean, I guess he should be believed. His story is plausible. Now, the defense, they will tell you, well, Keefe D, his story, there was reason for him to lie and exaggerate this story. And there is no proof, there is no evidence to corroborate any part of his story. Nobody can place him in Las Vegas. The last detective who just testified that they could not put him in Las Vegas. They could not put him in the car. And not to mention the 2 officers who testified, they said that there was a light or cream colored Cadillac at Suge Knight's house and as part of the entourage. So that suggests this was an inside hit or that it was individuals other than Keefe D. That's reasonable. That is so much reasonable doubt. Because even me just hearing this now, that makes it a lot more like the theory that was, we almost can't even call this a conspiracy theory anymore because it's starting to have more legs to it. But the theory that Reggie Wright Jr. or Suge Knight, Death Row Records basically, was somehow involved in this, or that this was an inside job, a lot of this stuff starts making sense now. Because like we were going through the different evidence before, all the things that point to this and make it realistic. And this is the icing on the cake.
I want to chime in as well.
Go ahead.
As far as I can tell from watching this case, there is only like 1 or 2 instances where Keefe D ever even said he was involved in this murder, against dozens, if not hundreds of instances where he said he wasn't. And like those instances both pre and post date the authorship of a book. That like in the 2008 proffer interview, which they played footage of today, he was pretty clear that he wasn't involved in this murder. There was a documentary from 2017. He made it pretty clear he wasn't involved in this murder. And then YouTube interviews and jailhouse calls, he made it very, very clear he was not involved in this murder.
I don't know if you caught it earlier today, Steve, or not, but I was doing another interview, so I didn't get a chance to watch. But I don't think that the defense brought in the ABC interview that KPD did.
They
where
did
he
not.
said- okay.
They
They
but
should
they,
have
they played other jailhouse interviews. I think
today.
yes. I'm looking at it here.
Oh.
I'm looking at it here. What the defense admitted today was the 2008 proffer interview, which was 2.5 hours long, audio only. The 2017 documentary interview that played focusing on the MGM Grand fight involving his nephew, and then which he contradicts himself in the book later. And then specifically, there were multiple clips from YouTube where Keefe D held up his book to promote it, alongside a 2023 jailhouse phone call where he complained about authorities using his own words against him.
Wow.
So those were the exhibits today.
Okay.
And all of those exhibits show to me, and like I think the defense is doing a good job right now, because what you want to do is prove that he is unreliable and that there are other plausible ways Tupac Shakur could have died. You don't actually have to prove any of the other plausible ways. You just need to make it clear Keefe D is a lying liar who lies.
Yeah,
And
because that's what this case comes down to. I might have said this right before you got on, but that this is about whether Keefe D told the truth or whether he lied. That's it right now. That's what the case is. Because somebody had made a point. There was a question in the comments, and they were under the impression that in Nevada that you cannot convict somebody based on their admission alone. I had to correct them. Yes, you technically can. It's called corpus delicti. That's the only thing that you need to prove is that, one, a person actually died, and two, that somebody else killed them. The state did that. So, hey, state, at least you did that part. Like you check those two things off that you have to do. Now, technically, yes, Keefe D could be convicted by his admission alone if it weren't that there's so much doubt here on whether he was telling the truth, because he had so much incentive to lie about this. He got some facts wrong, and that's where the independent corroboration becomes important, because of course the defendant is going to say he lied. That's the strongest thing he can say, and so it's his word against himself actually. So the way that the state beats that is by pulling evidence and facts and saying no, he really was telling the truth. He said he was there. We can prove it and show you that he actually was, yada yada yada. But they were not able to do that. But there's so much that came out today. My man Savage Knoll. At this point, there's more evidence against Death Row and Reggie Wright, and zero evidence against Keefe D. If you're talking about physical evidence and corroboration, that is actually true. It's actually true. We know. I mean, let's think about this. And again, this is conspiracy theory that sounds a lot less like a conspiracy. I don't even know if I have to put my tinfoil hat on anymore, Steve, because this is starting to make more sense. I did my research last night. Like I promised you guys I would. I watched some documentaries. I found out some interesting stuff, some stuff you'll be interested in too, Steve. But apparently, so the story is Death Row became involved with Tupac when Tupac was imprisoned at Clinton Correctional Facilities in Dannemora. This was due to the sexual assault case, and he couldn't post bail. He was signed to Interscope Records. Suge Knight came, and they signed a deal on a napkin, Death Row attorney David Kenner. But it's not exactly what people thought. They always say Suge bailed him out, paid the money out of his pocket. That's not entirely what happened, because also Death Row used Interscope as the distributor. So basically, Interscope wasn't really letting Tupac go entirely. They were letting him go to Death Row. But what happened is they posted the bail, but that money was kind of a loan because it was charged against Tupac for a number of things, a 3-album deal. And this explains why, because if you know anything about Tupac in the last year of his life, not even, but when he got out of prison up until he died, he worked like crazy. They say the day that he got out of prison, he flew straight to California, got off the plane, went straight to the studio. I think he recorded like the first 2 or 3 tracks in one day for All Eyes on Me. But he worked at a ridiculous pace trying to finish all 3 albums. And the first album that came out, All Eyes on Me, was the double disc. And so what was understood, or the thinking was, Tupac was trying to have that count as a double album. However, I don't think the record company counted it as a double album. But if it did, then Machiavelli would have been his third album, which came out right after he passed. I think it was the week later, or 2 weeks. But anyway, that would have been his third album, and he would have been out of death row. However, that is not the case. They were only counted as two. But according to the agreements described later in estate litigation, it contained 3 Tupac albums for death row. Suge Knight became Tupac's manager. David Kenner became Tupac's attorney. That was the death row attorney. So these are both conflicts of interest. If Tupac is signed to death row and Suge Knight is the owner, CEO of death row, he's also Tupac's manager. And David Kenner, who's the lawyer for death row, is also Tupac's attorney. Major conflicts of interest here. There was approximately $1 million advance for the first album, $125,000 for a car, about $120,000 living expenses, a $250,000 legal fund, and an 18% royalty with potential increases when the record reached gold and platinum sales. What else can we find here? Yeah, the deal was for 3 albums. Basically, Suge helped arrange Tupac's release, and the death row deal was directly connected to him getting out of prison. What else? Yeah. Here's the other thing. So in my research, because people have been saying how Tupac was trying to get out of death row, which, by the way, this is something that I haven't shared previously, but this was really cool. Is as you all know, I graduated from Harvard Law School, my degree right there. My professor I talk about all the time was Alan Dershowitz from the OJ trial. I had another professor that I worked with really well, and he was the head of the Criminal Justice Institute, where I did clinicals and got to be a public defender in Roxbury courts in Boston. His name was Charles Ogletree. He since passed away. Guess who Tupac's attorney was at the time? Charles Ogletree. He was one of his attorneys later on, and he's quoted here. He told the New Yorker that the prison agreement could have been challenged legally, and described Tupac as feeling like he still had chains on him. I forget exactly what Charles Ogletree was representing him for. I feel like was it an appeal? I'm not sure. Also, though, it might have been after he fired David Kenner. He might have hired Charles Ogletree to represent him in that too. But I always thought that was awesome, though. Being a Tupac fan, like my two favorite cases and murders were OJ and Tupac. I always researched. And then here I am at Harvard Law School, and my professors represented each of them, which was awesome. But this is what we do know, is that there were confirmed issues that Tupac was having where he wasn't receiving all of his money from death row. And it confirmed that he did the film Gang Related, and apparently he was supposed to be paid $700,000. The money went to death row and Suge instead of him. Now that was a major problem. And so then, and I've heard, shout out to Savage Knoll and the other guys on here, I verified everything they were talking about, and they said that Tupac fired Reggie Wright and Right Way Security and David Kenner on the same day. And this was a few days before he was killed. It might have been 3 or 4 days before. No, I'm sorry. I think it was at the end of August. It was within 2 weeks, but it was right before he was killed. So then that begs the question too: if Tupac fired Reggie Wright, why would he do that? Number one. But number two, why were Right Way security guards still securing him in Las Vegas? Because now this starts to paint a bigger picture, in that Tupac clearly was having issues with Suge Knight and over money. And now the story starts to make sense that he didn't even want to go to Vegas for this. But, Suge had arranged this, and he kind of felt like he needed to. And this is also why he went at the last minute, which Keefe D got wrong. Tupac was not there Friday. He didn't even arrive there till Saturday. And like I made a point of this yesterday. I thought it was strange. He showed up in the gold shirt that he was wearing that he was going to wear to the fight. So seems like Tupac didn't really take this serious and he didn't care. I know, hey, I've had to go do appearances that I kind of didn't feel like doing sometimes. I just wear anything. I'm not dressed. I wear what I got on. It's kind of what Tupac did. But anyway, and then he was, there's different accounts that he was irritated with Suge and even that night. But it goes down to the security guards being pulled off him. Reggie Wright Jr. was in charge of that. Oh, and so I watched Frank Alexander, Tupac's bodyguard. I watched some interviews with him last night, and he mentioned how that Lakewood Mall incident with the alleged chain snatching occurred, I want to say around like April or something in 1996. And he said that after that happened, Reggie Jr. called him to tell him about it or just to look out, and Frank Alexander thought that was weird because like, why are you telling me about, this incident that has nothing to do with me or Tupac or anything? Like, why are you telling me about this? And he said that he didn't think anything of it until in hindsight, like after this happened, that now that guy apparently that he told him about is involved in this. Seemed like it was a setup. They were setting up a story. So then now Frank would be able to remember that and put these things together kind of to throw him off. But it also shows it could be evidence of a plan. And now these things all start going together because also Tupac was engaged at the time to Kidada Jones, Quincy Jones's daughter. In fact, it was her Lexus that Tupac rode to Las Vegas in. Now, there had been reports and rumors, although some of it seems like it's pretty legit, and some of it seems like it's confirmed. I don't know how much of it, but that Tupac was in negotiations, business talk with Quincy Jones I don't understand exactly what all they were going to do, but I don't know if they were going to house Tupac's new label that he was starting. That's debated because they also say that his Euthanasia record label was going to be under Death Row, which may have been. But either way, because don't forget, Quincy Jones helped Will Smith, start the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and all that. And it's believed that Tupac was going to have some kind of a show or do something like that. Because you also know Tupac was a major actor at this time as well. Anyway, all of this stuff will go to show that, okay, Tupac had other endeavors outside of Death Row, not to mention the issue with the money. He was trying to get the company audited so he could receive, the money that was due him. This also explains why he fired Death Row lawyer David Kenner, who was his attorney as well. All of this stuff starts to make sense. And now you could see different motives where if they audit Death Row and, there's been rumors that Death Row was laundering money for drug operations, or they were, paying people under the table, whatever it was, there's potentially things that they did not want being uncovered. And an audit would be terrible for that. So how do you get rid of it? Well, you got to silence somebody. So now this stuff all starts to make sense. Whereas before it didn't. I don't know. I couldn't really make the connection. But then now today you hear that there was a white or light colored Cadillac at Suge's house. Shout out to Savage Knoll. He said that apparently Suge mentioned it at some point, and the alibi they gave they said that it was his parents' Cadillac and they happened to be in town or something. That may be, but the officers testified that they saw the cream-colored Cadillac leaving behind Suge and Tupac in part of the entourage. So that's major stuff here. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the comments. Let me see. Miss Carmen, thank you. $5 donation. Hey, look at this. I appreciate that. I'm late, but did you catch when the defense's last witness, who was a cop, said that there were girls in a car that had been shot at? I didn't catch him saying that today. I wasn't paying attention to that part, but I've heard this before. And there were girls that one of them testified earlier in the case, and that they saw Tupac, and that they saw the car and they fled. But I thought she said that she didn't necessarily get shot at. There's some discrepancy between whether it was the girls or Buntry could have potentially been chasing or pursuing the white Cadillac, and they shot at the car to get him to scare him off, basically. But Miss Carmen, thank you so much for that. I appreciate the $5. Thank you. What else do we got here? Let's see. Tupac put a loan on himself. Yeah, Tupac was getting ready to leave death row. Yep. What do we got? Quincy Jones was trying to help Tupac. Yes, the $80 million contract. I heard about that with Warner Brothers. It was all ready to go, just waiting for him to leave death row. Thank you, Savage Knoll. So yeah, an $80 million contract. Think about that. He wouldn't need death row, and he was leaving for that. Now that would be motive, because people say, why would Suge or death row, why would they kill Tupac, as he was their cash cow? Well, if he was getting ready to leave and was no longer going to be their cash cow, and the audit was going to mess things up terribly, was going to jam them up big time, you take him out, that eliminates the audit, but then now they can profit on his posthumous albums, which they did tremendously. So that makes sense. What else do we have here?
Producer Steve with a weird question. Guilty or not, would the estate of Tupac Shakur be interested in suing Keefe D civilly? Of which we've learned the standard is way different.
The standard is much different. It is just a preponderance of the evidence. So if it's more likely than not, 51%. Like, just very similar to Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman's families suing OJ civilly and winning a wrongful death suit, even though criminally he was found not guilty. So that could happen. I mean, they could sue Keefe D. I don't know his financial situation. I don't know how much they would recover, but they could recover everything from those books or any future books or anything. Would they be interested in it? I don't know. Maybe, but it's something that I don't know if they could win or not. It depends. It depends on what people think, because it started to look like, I don't know if Keefe D told the truth or not. If you asked me when we talked about this yesterday, I said that I felt like the most likely explanation is Keefe D probably did do this. He probably is telling the truth, but his only challenge was, no, I lied. And he's kind of getting lucky that they didn't ever corroborate this. They just took his word for it and went with it. However, it still may be, but boy, this death row right way security theory is interesting. Now, the fact with the white Cadillac, I mean, is it a coincidence that Suge's parents had a white Cadillac and that the shooters had a white Cadillac? And not only did Suge's parents have a white Cadillac, they had a white Cadillac in the entourage. Because then you're expecting us to believe there was a white Cadillac in the entourage and the shooters had a white Cadillac, which means, play this out. So if that's the case, when the shooting happened and the white Cadillac that the shooters were in took off, the white Cadillac in the entourage should still be in the entourage. So shouldn't the police have rushed up to that? And also, somebody mentioned this, but wouldn't Frank Alexander have noticed that? I kind of feel like he did, because he gave the description of the Cadillac, but wouldn't he have noticed, or wouldn't he have said, hey, it was a white Cadillac, just like this one that we have in our entourage, but it's not them. I know those guys. He didn't say that. Like, I feel like that should have come up. That's a hang up I do have on this, is like just now hearing about this white Cadillac, which, I mean, makes me wonder, because I'm taking these officers at their word that they said they saw the white Cadillac leaving the entourage. Is that true? Were they mistaken? Because if that's true, this is, I mean, it's really weird. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that they might have been mistaken, but two of them said it. And for the defense in this case, it doesn't matter if those guys are right or not, because this creates reasonable doubt. But if we're actually trying to get to the truth of this, I wonder. And Frankie Alexander isn't with us anymore, so he can't comment on that. But I feel like that's something that would have been addressed, when they were giving the description of the car. If you have a nearly identical car in your entourage of 5 or 6 vehicles.
So to pin you down on an answer,
Yep.
as you what you think the truth is, do you think Keefe D wasn't involved? He was in Los Angeles and he lied, and the reason they can't prove anything is because the only lie he told was the lie he told in a book that made him a millionaire. I googled it. He's worth around $2.5 million.
So wait, so what's your question?
Sorry, my question is: do you think he lied about? Do you think he told the truth in his book, or he lied in the book? Because it's clear to me the state can't prove it. The state can't prove where he was that night, which would be, I don't know. As someone who frequents the state of Nevada, I think it's kind of concerning that they could lock somebody up for a year and a half on a murder charge without being able to confirm where they were the night of the murder, outside of their own fallible statements.
But let's be honest here, though. Like, if somebody says that they did it and they're going into detail about it, like, they should probably be in custody, because if you're wild enough to say that you did it, like, you could be convicted over that. That's not a smart thing to lie about, unless there's major consequences that you're trying to get out of, like a drug case, or which would potentially send him to prison for life. And then once he said it, he thought he was immune from it and then making money off it. But if you're asking me, do I think he's telling the truth? I honestly don't know. I don't know, because I keep finding out new information. Like, what's possible? All of this could be true. All of it. He may have been involved, but also death row too, and Reggie Wright Jr. Like that is not out of the realm of possibility when you think about. Keefe D said he grew up knowing Suge. They played on the same football team. And this part about the chain snatching and Orlando Anderson, who's his nephew, and Reggie Wright Jr. telling Frank Alexander, that could have been planting a seed where then you have, I don't know, maybe they hired Keefe D to do this. Keefe D and Orlando Anderson. Maybe they hired them to be the hitman. I don't know, because that could still fit with, because the thing that we do know, and that is strange, but that multiple people have verified, is that Reggie would not, including Reggie himself, he would not allow the security guards to carry guns that night. So they don't have any weapons to protect themselves. Tupac is in the car with Suge, not his bodyguard, which normally would happen. There's also an interesting detail. Somebody mentioned this, and I heard, they didn't say this outright in the documentary, but reading between the lines, I understand this too, is that apparently the BMW Tupac was in had some kind of child lock or something on the front door where it could not be opened from the inside. So Tupac couldn't get out from the inside, because even when, after Tupac was shot and they were trying to help him and rescue him, they couldn't open the door. And Suge had to say something to the effect of, "It's my car, I know how to open the door," which tells me, okay, seems like that door was, I don't know, was tampered with or was fixed for, it just seems a little convenient, like part of a setup. But anyway, all of this could fit together. Or, if you factor in the fact that they say there was, white Cadillac in the entourage, those could be the two shooters. And the whole part about Orlando Anderson and Keefe D, they were decoys. And that's where they wanted the police to look. But once the police actually looked, they couldn't pin the murder on them, because they didn't actually do it. There was no evidence. And I mean, that explains a lot too. And then also the fact that almost all of them were killed. Almost all the witnesses in this are no longer with us. That's how they keep things quiet. And that's another thing to look at. Everybody who, was a witness or was around this time died, mysteriously, or was murdered. Then you have to look at the people who are still alive and wonder, well, why are they still alive? if everybody else involved around this was taken out, start, looking there. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
It's all conspiracy, but
Tinfoil hats are very fashionable at these points of the live stream. So I will point out,
Yeah.
is that has anyone refuted the number 80 million when it comes to Quincy Jones and the Tupac Warner Brothers deal? Because that's
I haven't heard of that.
because a commenter said it, and that number makes sense to me, but given Tupac's value at that time and the, I'd say, shaky ground of any of his contracts at that time.
And
I
not
don't
to
know.
mention,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, if you follow the money, if there is an $80 million deal on Tupac, if you follow the money, it would make sense that would motivate everybody to fall in line with whatever that much money needed to happen.
Yeah. I could see it. And the thing that makes it reasonable too is he was engaged to Quincy Jones's daughter, and he was doing work with Quincy Jones' son, QD3. And so it stands to reason that if Tupac was in a bad situation, and he's engaged to Quincy Jones's daughter, you would think Quincy Jones would want to look out for him. But also, it's not like Tupac's just some guy. He's extremely talented, and especially at that time. And, a rapper and an actor, like, you see what Quincy Jones did, with Will Smith. Like, hey, with Tupac, this could be even bigger. So that seems like that's probably legitimate. 80 million sounds about right. Might even be low. What else we got?
I meant to star it, but somebody asked about the hotel receipt.
They did not recover a hotel receipt. It
was a misdirect.
Prosecution. I think the prosecution was trying to. They were trying to. I don't even know what the right word is. Have the jury believe that it was recovered, but it actually wasn't. Like, because there is a receipt or a document of items obtained in the search warrant, and it says hotel receipt. That's all it says. But it doesn't say from when, where, what hotel, what it was, what year it was, if it's related or not. And they weren't able to produce the receipt. So it's essentially meaningless. And then there's the one we talked about. The next one, it said money bill due, Monte Carlo. And right here, during the trial, the prosecution presented evidence of a hotel booking at the Monte Carlo resort made under Dwayne Davis' wife, Paula Clemens, during the weekend of September. But wait, however, the introduction of this hotel record associated receipts became highly contested point of friction between the state and the defense, primarily during the testimony of retired King Detective Robert Led. But wait a minute. Did they? Now this is a summary, because what I pointed out, I'm the only person I've heard say this, but the Monte Carlo is the name of a hotel. It's also the name of a car, and we know Keefe D had a business, customizing cars, and so money bill due Monte Carlo may not have been the hotel at all, and it may have been for work that he did on somebody's Monte Carlo car, which makes sense to me. So it just says money bill due Monte Carlo. I don't think they can attribute that to a hotel receipt beyond having a hotel receipt to show it. Yeah, and missing physical receipt. They don't even have the physical receipt.
And they had the investigator on the stand, Detective Ladd.
Right.
They had them concede on the stand that I do not have the actual receipt. I do not know where the current receipt is.
Right. The only hotel receipt that they said they had, I can't remember if they actually showed a picture of it or not, but was apparently obtained at Orlando Anderson's residence, and it was a receipt for the Excalibur, which I believe he stayed at. However, that's not really news to us, because we already knew Orlando Anderson was indeed in Las Vegas that night, because he is in the video in the fight with Tupac at the MGM Grand. So we already know that. The defense further damaged the weight of this evidence by establishing that the other financial and hotel documents pulled from property lists, such as from the Excalibur Casino and miscellaneous bills, were actually addressed to KVD. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're point to Orlando, but that's not news to us in any way.
It's kind of, I remember, not to be political, but it was a national story while Joe Biden was running for president, what his son did. And I remember the entire time saying, man, everybody's right. I'm not going to vote for Hunter Biden for president. Similarly here, looking at Orlando Anderson, like, there might be some truth to the fact that Orlando Anderson was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur. It's too bad we're trying Keefe D.
Right.
that evidence is not helpful.
Right. Here's one. A guy, Savage Knoll. So Keefe D and Reggie were both in control of the drugs in Compton. For all we know, Keefe could have owed a debt to death row and needed to pay it off somehow. That's plausible too. All of these things are plausible. Yeah, I said this too. I always wondered why Orlando is at a Mike Tyson fight in a jersey. And if you watch him on the video, he stood out like a sore thumb. I feel like he was a decoy to set up the play, which would give motive for that. I mentioned that too, because he was very easy to identify. And the way he was just kind of standing there waiting to be noticed, that kind of stuck out. Like, that was the point. It was like he was supposed to be recognized, and he was waiting. Similar thing. He might have had a debt to be paid off, or he might have been doing this to make a little money. Because also, it's said and looks to be, I don't know, all but proven, but apparently he received money to testify on Suge's behalf. So Suge didn't violate his parole. So yeah, that could be too. Let's see. Yeah. Suge and Pac were arguing about Snoop's radio interview, not over business. There's footage today before the shooting where they are hugging on the video of Toss It Up set. Yeah, but then I think it was, is it Michael Moore? In the documentary with Frank Alexander, like, he said that he actually had to get between Suge and Pac because Pac was mad once he heard what Snoop said on the radio, that they actually had to turn around, and that he went to confront Suge over it, and that they almost got into it, and Michael Moore actually had to step in between them and separate it. So they were definitely, tempers flared over that. That doesn't mean that it wasn't business also. Clearly it sounds like it was more than one thing, but there was definitely some trouble there.
So Greg Gibson has a prediction here, which is not guilty or a hung jury. Which begs the question, in the event of a hung jury, does Keefe D get out of jail?
Depends on if they retry it, which I assume they will. That's a good question.
I would argue, well, it sounds like a hung jury pretty much restarts the whole proceeding. And I think for what we talked about earlier about the bail money, because he has the money, they're just saying the money comes from crime. I think a hung jury gives him a leg up on a separate bail hearing.
Good.
To at a minimum revisit the idea. Like, I'm sorry, a jury of my peers couldn't convict me on what you're claiming is dirty money. Then I think at a minimum personally, I think this is going to be not guilty. I think depending on how long closing arguments are tomorrow, this thing might be over tomorrow. But like, if closing arguments, because they're starting at 9 a.m., if closing arguments go till lunch and then they let the jury.
Closing arguments are Monday, though.
Oh, what are they doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow is the jury instructions.
Oh,
but they're not going to be televised.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I'll take that off my calendar. I don't have to be here. All right.
Yeah, it could be over by Monday, though. You're right.
I think so. The jury will get instructions, but deliberation will start Friday, but they're not going to do anything till Monday because they're not going to make them deliberate over the weekend, I guess.
No. And as far as I know, the jury is not sequestered either.
Judging from the instructions the judge is giving them, I don't think so either. Also, given how much of the day is not this trial, I would be pretty annoyed if I was sequestered for this trial.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes, to answer your question, this is what I was thinking too. So a hung jury, KVD doesn't get out. It goes back to what things were pre-trial, because basically it's a mistrial. He's not acquitted. That's different. If he was acquitted, yeah, he's out. He goes home. But it's not that. So it would go back to the bail hearing, and previously it was set at $750,000. However, there is another complication, is that Keefe D was convicted for a jailhouse fight and sentenced in September to 16 to 40 months for battery by a prisoner. Concurrent with a 364-day sentence with 224 days of credit. So he might have to stay in there anyway. And intends to retrial, the judge for release, reduce bail. Yeah, basically, if it is a hung jury, the prosecution will say whether they intend to retry him, and the defense will definitely ask for release or reduce bail. I don't know if that'll happen, but they'll ask for it, and the judge will decide upon it again.
Or at least another bail hearing around
the
clean money. Because I personally, however long the minimum deliberation is, that's how long I think this will be.
Oh, this is going to be quick. This is going to be quick. And I think the jury questions, the last one in particular, that pretty much told us. There's at least a few people on there, a few jurors who they're not buying this, or they wanted independent verification, corroboration, and they didn't receive it. So that tells us how they're voting. So I know it's not unanimous guilty. I know that. So it's either going to be unanimous not guilty or a hung jury. And so it put it like this: the maximum time it's going to take is however long it takes for the judge to declare a hung jury. Because usually if they come back and they're deadlocked, the judge is going to tell them to go back and try a little harder, go back and try a little harder. And I do not see it being unanimous guilty. So at the longest, it's going to be, hung jury, mistrial. But at the shortest, it's going to be not guilty, and it's going to be quick. Because on the first vote they take, it might be unanimous, not guilty, reasonable doubt. And again, not guilty does not mean innocent. It just means the state did not prove its burden here. And, I've said it before, I'm really conflicted in this because I'm a Tupac fan, and I want the murderer, to be brought to justice. However, I don't know if it is Keefe D. And the defense attorney in me, I want the state to do their job. I want them to meet the burden of proof. It's been 30 years, man. And it hasn't been handled in the best way. You're telling me 30 years. The only evidence we have is Keefe D's own statements. Come on, man. You couldn't find anything else. Nothing to tie him into this. That. It's
the more I think about it, yesterday and the day before when I kind of thought about it, I thought it was plausible that he decided, I'm going to tell a version of this story that if I'm called on it, there are enough lies and holes that I can get away with murder. I can get away with telling this story. And then the more I hear Keefe D in interviews, the more I realize that's just not I'm thinking of him as a gazelle or some type of calculated mover. And he's more like a pit bull. That it's there's money over there. Go tell this story, get that money. That's where his head's at. So it stands more reason to me that he told this story. And this story has to be a lie, because it makes more sense to me that he lied than one of the most publicized nights in the history of gangster rap, for sure, but one of the most publicized nights in the history of Las Vegas, I would argue. of all the evidence that exists around this murder case, all of the people involved, all the conspiracy theories involved, everything that's muddled, everything that was said, everything that was unsaid, nobody can find any evidence at all that he was in that city that day.
Right.
I just honestly, truthfully, I think it makes more sense that he lied than
And
for them to be unable to prove he was there.
I'm with you. And another thing that adds to that always has made me kind of feel that way is the first time he told the story, he waited until after his nephew was dead and then put it on his nephew for being the shooter. But then that also tells me he's probably telling part of the story, or like the story is probably true minus Keefe D being in the car. Like his nephew could have told him, this is what happened. You know, I was in the car with such and such, the other two guys, and, you know, we rolled up and we did this, and then this is where we went and whatever. And then Keefe D is just kind of dressing the story up. And also, when I listen to the transcripts, he tells the story very slow and kind of like makes them ask him questions about it. He doesn't just go on this narrative and give them all kind of detail as if telling a first person story. That's different to me. Like I noticed that in that he tries to give as little detail as possible, but they have to like ask him parts of it. And he tells just enough and to their answers, but he doesn't go on a narrative storytelling and like all the detail, at least not the first time. So to me, it's kind of like he was putting it together and based off of what they were asking him as well. Yeah.
If I disappear, it's because I got to go produce Nash, but he's not in the room yet.
No worries, no worries. Yeah. Street crime, the case is about who told the best story. Yeah, it really is. There's someone that could put him on the scene. Yeah, this one too. Why didn't they call Foxy Brown? Or did they try and she wouldn't testify or something? Because like, yeah, they said she was there. She was in the car with Zip. Or this is what Keefe said. So that could answer it for us real quick. If Foxy remembers seeing him. But then again, it was 30 years ago. Is Foxy really going to remember? If she was with Zip, is she going to remember some guy who came up to the car? Maybe, if she knew him independently or something, but like, maybe not. Wait, is this true? Foxy Brown was on tour with Nas that night. That's why she wasn't called. They know that. Is this true? If this is true, and they can point this out, that also shows Keefe D was lying. Because he said, which I feel like he was, because he said that Foxy Brown was in the car with Zip, but then also this is when, I'm pretty sure this is the same time that, or right around the time he saw Suge, Tupac, and Snoop each driving. Wait, yeah, didn't he say they each had different colored Rolls Royces, red, black, and white, and this was on Friday, which number one, Tupac didn't come till Saturday, but why would Tupac be in a Rolls Royce? He drove there in Kidada's, was it her Lexus? Yeah, so why would he be there in a Rolls Royce? It doesn't make any sense.
A quick Google tells me that they weren't on tour at that time.
They weren't? Okay, well.
Because the album wasn't recorded and released until October 97. So
yeah,
they weren't touring that group until 97. But
yeah,
I'm going to head on out. This was fun.
All right. I'm going to take a few more questions and then I'm going to retire for the evening as well. Hey, all right. I'll entertain this again. Pac had a body double in Vegas a day before. Maybe Keefe seen them. Maybe. But why? What is it? Sorry, all due respect. What is it with the body doubles? Why does that matter? A body double wasn't killed. Unless okay. Are you trying to tell me you think a body double got shot and Tupac is still alive? Like I'm sorry, I don't understand why people keep bringing up the body double. As far as I know, Tupac was shot and killed. So whether he had a body double or not, I don't see how that's even relevant to this case, I'm sorry. I don't. With all due respect, I'm asking you guys, please. Machiavelli Outlaw 21, explain this to me. What's with the body double theory? Why is this important? Because I'm missing it. Make me understand. Because then maybe this will open everything up to me. But I don't understand why people keep bringing up a body double, and what the point of it was. Yeah, they say Foxy was with Zip, but we haven't been able to verify that. But yeah, I heard that if she was with him, that would be great. Like for her, if she could take the stand, she could put KPD there. If it happened. Savage, no, what do we got? The body double comes in for the conspiracy theorists that think Tupac faked his death and believe it was Devin Clark. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So is that why people keep bringing up this body double? They think Tupac faked his death. And hey, I've been hearing this since he died. Like, I want Tupac to be alive too. That would be great. But if he did fake his death, it's been 30 years now. Well, I mean, he's been faking his death longer than he was alive by 5 years. So what would that be? What would that be doing? Oh, Machiavelli Outlaw says he might have pulled a fast one to avoid going back to prison. But for 30 years, bro, 30 years? Sorry. Sorry. I entertain all these conspiracy theories, but I'm not sold on the body double one. I'm not sold on that one. He had an escape plan, evidence of in Tupac's garage, but he shot and died. I couldn't implement it. Wait, what's this? Who had an escape plan? Evidence of it in Tupac's garage. Tupac was escaping? Yeah. I'm with you. The body double thing is for people who think he faked his death. Sorry. See, I evaluate these conspiracy theories legitimately. Like, that's what's fun about this is I'll tell you if I don't believe in it. I don't. I'll tell you if anything has any truth. I'm sorry. I'm not convinced in the body double one right now. I'm not at all. Wait. Foxy went to jail for perjury once before? Oof. Yeah. She won't be coming. To the death row bankruptcy fraud. Yeah, I believe it. I'm starting to believe all that stuff because there's something that was going on there financially, and that makes these theories make a lot more sense. I'll give you that. Spend money if you think the state can spend money if he was alive. Yeah, that's true. It's interesting. It's not about his music. It's about his family legacy and the government. He pulled a Geronimo Pratt. I don't know, guys. Sorry. I don't know. What else? Cops did it more than anything? What do you mean? You think I don't think Pac alive, he would have to pay everyone off. That would be so hard to do that if he was alive. Right. But you think the cops did it more than anything? What do you mean? The cops planned this? What would be the motive for the police to kill Tupac? That's where I'm gonna start. Anytime you give me a conspiracy theory, like, come on, man, you got to provide more than that. Like, you got to think this through first. Like, what would be the motive? Why would the cops do it? Now, actual off-duty police officers may have actually performed the hit, but they wouldn't be the ones planning it. They wouldn't. I don't see how the police would benefit unless they would. Tell me how. But it may be if they fit under the Reggie Wright theory, but I don't see how cops themselves would just benefit from killing Tupac. I don't understand that. Or this whole thing is exactly as Kiwi said. I mean, that's true too. That's true too. Because Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is sometimes the right one. All this other stuff is potentially true too, but may be innocent, meaning like Tupac could have been having problems with Suge Knight. Looks like he probably was. That doesn't mean that Suge had him killed. Because still, I feel like, man, to have somebody shoot the man next to you in the car, although I see both sides of that. You by that, you definitely think, well, he wasn't involved because he was sitting right next to him when he got shot. Then you have the interesting theory about did he go to his house to put on a bulletproof vest? Man, the thing is, everybody has an answer for everything, and it could be, because either way, whatever really happened at this point is an unbelievable story. Like, if there was some way where we could find out, no, this is exactly what happened, like conclusively, like if there somehow had some surveillance footage that, I don't know, surfaced after 30 years that, nobody ever checked, like, whoa, you see what actually happened, it's probably going to be kind of wild. Like, whoa, so that's who did it, or that's what happened, which makes it, all of the other stuff that, seemed really fishy and suspicious still seems fishy and suspicious, but just wasn't actually part of it. That could very well be. When you leave for the night, check your DM for the secret recording. Night he was shot. I sent it to you. Is this on my Facebook? You sent it? And DMs on Facebook? I will take a look. I appreciate that. I feel you, Machiavelli. I feel you. He's a Black Panther. Remember Asada. It is possibility too many Americans are living under witness protection abroad. Okay. If Tupac is in witness protection, I don't know if the state would have spent this much money on the prosecution. And he's been in witness protection for 30 years. What case are they trying to build? For 30 years? Longer than he was alive at that point? I don't know. That's what people say. But okay, let me ask you this. Is Reggie actually behind it? Or was he a part that helped facilitate it? Or does he have nothing to do with this? Because the other thing is, they never brought anything against him. Then again, his father's law enforcement. However, still, he was talked to, questioned. Pretty sure they looked into him very much so. Well, obviously he didn't pull the trigger himself. But I know, I'm pretty sure that it was documented that he was at 662. Now, does he know more about it? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Reggie got fired. That's true. Tupac fired him. That is true. But that makes it even more strange that Reggie's security guards were still securing Pac that night. So that's a question I have, though. Why did Tupac fire Right Way and David Kenner on the same day? Because that right there is more telling than anything. Like, the way that you figure this out, I feel like we can figure this out, is if you look at the actual evidence, because conspiracy theories, body doubles, these are all, there's no proof of this. Hey, Machiavelli Outlaw, is there any proof that the body double was there? Is there any proof Tupac had a body double? Because I just watched a whole documentary on this, and they showed 3 different examples, and none of them were the body double. Even the documentarian, he made a great documentary, by the way. I forget his name, but check out his channel. But if you type in Tupac body double or whatever, I think it comes up. Some kind of Tupac channel dedicated to him. But he did great work. But there's no evidence of any body doubles, and they're often in the same room with Tupac. That defeats the whole purpose. If you have a body double, you wouldn't want him to be next to the person he's doubling. That makes zero sense. And it lets everybody know, well, she's got a body double. So it would be pointless. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So we do know, I've seen the facts or whatever signed by Tupac that he fired Reggie Wright and he fired David Kenner. Why would he do that? Why? Like, I understand why he could fire David Kenner, but it shows that he's mad. He knows there's a conflict of interest. He's having issues with death row. Why would he fire Right Way Security though? Why? Like, what problem would he have with Reggie Wright over security to the point where he fired him? And if so then what was Tupac hiring his own security guards? Like, I'm confused by that. Does anybody have any more information on that? Well, that's what we need to figure out though, is why did he fire Right Way? Or is it that he was so mad at death row, he was like, look, I'm firing everybody related to death row. I'm firing David Kenner. I'm firing Right Way Security. Like, but what I did not hear is, I did not hear that he fired Suge as his manager. Does anybody know if that happened? Because I would have thought that that's what he would have done too, especially if he was really upset with Suge. That's the one part I have an issue with, because they said they sent his gridlock check of $700,000 to death row. Well, that's not exactly that wrong. If Suge is his manager, Suge would probably receive that and take his cut first and then give it to Tupac. But the way that the documentary I saw was explaining this is that death row kept the entire 700. I think it went towards the million or whatever that they advanced Tupac. Who knows? But why wouldn't Pac fire Suge as his manager? I would think that he would do that. Although maybe he couldn't, because as of terms of their contract, their agreement, because Suge was his manager, and that's how they provided the money for bail. Motive for the police was Rafael Perez, Kevin Gaines, Reggie Wright Jr. They were all Compton cops, Rampart, all crooked, working for Suge. That could all be, because they all do seem to be tied into this somehow. That could all be. What else? Interesting. When Tupac shot the two cops in Atlanta and beat the case, they were mad. Right, but that's also in Atlanta. But good point, though, in pointing that out. Good point. Tupac on the records. He was a Snoop Dogg, a lot of people at the throw. Yeah. What else do we have? Yeah. There's a lot to go along with. I could be here all day too. That's what frequently happens. Court's been over for 3 hours now. I don't know, 2 hours. We're still here talking about this. Yeah, I just learned this too. I wasn't up on the documentaries as much as I thought then, I guess, but I always thought they just went to the hotel too, the Luxor, but apparently they went to the Luxor and Suge's house. Savage Knoll was the first person who pointed out they went to Suge's house, and allegedly Suge put on a bulletproof vest, which, if that's true, there's no evidence, corroborating that, but if that's true, whew, man, makes it interesting. All right, guys. Machiavelli Outlaw says, bro, you don't know much about the 30 years of info. That's why you are closed-minded to this. You have to watch like 3,000 hours of YouTube videos, I guess. You think I'm closed-minded? Jeez. I think I'm pretty open-minded to all of this. I don't think it's fair to call me closed-minded because I didn't agree with your body double theory. I tried. I'm really trying. I don't have time to watch the 3,000 hours. That's why I was asking you to explain it to me. So then, therefore, you believe it. open. I'm telling you, my mind is open for you to just lay out the argument for me so I understand it. But hey, everybody else in the chat, am I by myself? Am I closed-minded to not believe this body double theory? Has he convinced you that this body double theory is legitimate? I don't understand why Tupac would have a body double there in the same room with him, unless the body double was so the person whoever the body double is got killed. So Tupac hired a body double who then was murdered, and Tupac is somewhere in witness protection. So people know that the gentleman who's a body double got killed. Who's behind, so the government knows this, and Tupac is in witness protection somewhere for 30 years. Usually you're in witness protection while they're building a case against somebody else. Who are they building a case against? Over 30 years. He spent more of his life in witness protection than he was alive. You think they're going to give Keefe D a deal? If they offered Keefe D a deal, oh man, I don't know. If I was his attorney, I don't even know if I would advise him to take it at this point. Like, yeah, on the one hand, you could control your outcome and get something much less, but I find it hard to believe that they'll convict him, basically with what they have so far. I don't. Yeah, I do not believe Suge Knight had him killed at all. Yeah, I have a hard time believing it too. I mean, I see people's points and like why, monetarily and the business aspect of it, but there's a lot you're asking me to believe too, because it looked like they were friends. Because even still, whatever their disagreement was, Tupac was riding in the car with Suge. Tupac doesn't seem like the kind of guy that did a lot of stuff against his will, like. And him and Suge, maybe it seems like they argued, but they made up. Like, seems like they cared about each other. I don't know, but yeah, I hope Suge's not involved in it, man. I hope not, but I don't know. Just found your channel 5 minutes ago. Well, I'm happy that you did. Thanks for joining. Do I think Diddy is involved? Do I think Keefe D will be convicted? So many shady people. They've all got skeletons in the closets. Actually, I don't know. I don't really feel like Diddy's involved. I haven't heard anything. The most I've heard, even about Diddy in this, is that he allegedly put the bounty on their heads. But this is the part that to me doesn't add up. Is Keefe D said when he's explaining this is that Puffy put the bounty on him. He said, "Oh yeah, for those dudes' heads," but he wasn't very clear when he said it. And then it sounded like, or Keefe D said, the big guy, to take out the big guy. The big guy is Suge. Okay, so Puffy put a bounty on Suge's head, not Tupac's. So then when Tupac was killed, why are they looking for money, then for Tupac? Tupac wasn't the target, because I don't see Puffy being afraid of Tupac. I understand Puffy being afraid of Suge. I don't see Puffy being afraid of Tupac. I don't. So I think that didn't quite add up, that Puffy said $1 million. So what was it? $1 million for both of them? So 500 and 500, or it was $1 million for each of them? $1 million. So actually it was $2 million. Like that part is unclear. And I don't know, that I think Keefe lied about that. I think he lied about that, was just trying to get some money, or I don't know, something. What else? They want close alive theories. I'm sorry, I don't understand that one. Did they say Michael Moore committed suicide too? Michael Moore and Frank all committed suicide? Yeah, that's very, very fishy. Very fishy. I agree. I said this yesterday too. You follow the money, you find the problem. I agree. If I was the prosecution, what's one question I would have asked that wasn't? I would have asked on cross-examination, I would have asked the officers who said they saw the white Cadillac in the entourage. I'd have been all over them. I would have questioned, okay, who was in it? You're certain you saw this? What model was it? What make? I'd ask some questions like that. Like, how many doors? You reported this? Where did it go? I would have asked them about the other cars too, because why is it you remember this white Cadillac? Do you remember any of the other cars? You said there was one guy said there was 10 or 15 cars that went in, and one of them was a white Cadillac. Okay. Why would that stick out to you at the time? This was before the murder. Unless maybe thought about then after, like, oh yeah, we did see that. So I would have been all over them about this. The second guy, I think, said it was 5 or 6 cars. But either way, they both said they saw it. So I would have definitely questioned to make sure that that actually even happened. Right. As I said, there would be suicide to sit next to someone you're putting a hit on. And Suge got shot in the head and grazed. Like, and Suge is way bigger than Pac. So any shots that miss Pac or while Pac is moving around, Suge is probably going to get hit. Yeah. Wait, what? Reggie Wright Jr. has a proffer as well. Ask why that is. Do you know, Savage Noel? Why is it? Tell me why. Tell me, please. Why does Reggie Wright Jr. have a proffer? What is? I need to know about this. Oh, somebody else tell me. Reggie had a proffer also when he got caught with money laundering and weed. What did he give up in that proffer? Does anybody know? What did he give up? Or I actually, next time we do this, I need to actually get a tinfoil hat to put on, so you know when I'm speaking in conspiracies. But are you saying that then he had to work for the police and help set Tupac up? Nah, that can't be, because again, I don't see what the police would gain from taking out Tupac. I don't see anything they would gain that is enough for them to go through all of this trouble. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think Reggie Wright had his hand in it with the dirty cops. What did he do with the gun that night when him and Kevin Hackey had it? Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. I did my research. I'm aware of both of these crooked cops. But okay, but to what end? Yes, I'm aware of them. I'm aware of them. I did my research on that. But what? So what? Sorry, but I mean, what are you pointing at? What you're saying that they masterminded it? Like, I don't doubt they may have been a part of it, but why would the cops orchestrate the killing of Tupac? That's what I'm saying. It seems more like I more likely would believe the death row part of it, and that they had crooked cops working for them, what they did, that were part of it, but I don't see them organizing it or coming up with it. That to me, what would be their motive? Tupac told Michael Moore and Frank Alexander that he was hiring them directly. That's why Frank was still with him, because he told Suge he only trusted them. But could he do that if they were signed the right way? Like, I understand he told them that, but clearly that didn't work, because even Michael Moore said that Reggie told him, you're not on Tupac, and he had to do what Reggie said. So Pac might have told him that, but it doesn't seem like it necessarily worked. Oh, it's mad. Okay, so they said he fired David Kenner and Reggie Wright Jr. because security and the attorney Kenner were not letting him take his recorded reels out of the studio. I see what you mean. I think it's his masters. Yeah, there was an issue over Tupac wanted to own his masters. Okay, so he was trying to physically take them out, and they stopped him. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, Tupac had a body double. His name was Devin something. What does this have to do with the murder, though? I don't doubt he had a body double, but how does that help us with what we're discussing? So I'm saying, like, what? I don't understand that theory. Let's see. He had a body double who played him in the movie. Well, that Demetrius Shipp Jr., I believe, was he was pretty young at the time Tupac was killed. So I don't think he was ever hired as his body double. He does look just like him. And as we brought up, he conspiracy theory, he may be Tupac's son. There may be some truth to that. He looks more like Tupac than his own dad. That guy does. What else? Yeah. I think the firings are more of stopping Right Way and David Kenner's services. Suge was about to give Tupac his own boutique label under Death Row, Machiavelli Records. Yeah, it seems like it too. Yeah, it seems like it. All right, here we go. I believe they could have shot the wrong Tupac and shot a body double instead. And that's the reason they could be covering all this up and not telling the real truth in court. They shot a body double. They did not shoot Tupac. And they're covering it up. So where's Tupac? Why hasn't Tupac resurfaced in 30 years? My man, yeah, it's basically a 24-hour stream at this point. We're still going. I'm having fun though, talking with these guys. I just don't think everybody is a conspiracy theorist and believes that part of the Tupac world. Yeah, thank you. Like, I'm actually very open-minded. If you're listening to what I'm saying, is tell me your argument and convince me. I mean, this is how good lawyer thinks. Like, if you tell me your argument and it makes logical sense, then okay, I'll believe that or believe parts of it. But if your argument doesn't make any sense, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say I believe you when your argument doesn't make any sense. As far as the body double argument, not Savage Knowles, but the other guys, but the body double argument, I just don't see how that works in this right now. Sorry. I'm not saying that if you tell me something and then I'm like, oh wow, like actually that makes sense, then I'll back it. But presently, I don't. The hologram was walking around. Hey, I almost believe this. Was it the hologram who got shot? I mean, might as well be. Jeez, what's that thing? Yeah, the body double to stretch me. Thank you. I'm trying to find a nice way to say it. It's a stretch to me too. It's a long stretch to me. Let's see. Man, it's a little late for a deal. Not necessarily. They could still do it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the prosecution tried something because they're about to lose, and something is better than nothing. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this is weird. Why is the Cadillac in his entourage? And then the cops tell Mike Tyson the party is canceled. That part was weird to me too. Unless, like Savage Knowles said, that might be, I don't know, that might have been code for something else, if you understand. The party's not here anymore. The party's canceled. The party's over. Because why would you have, the party presumably is for Mike Tyson. I mean, he's having a fight that weekend. He is the most famous person in the city that night. Like, everybody, all eyes are on him. It's his weekend. He won the fight. Now you're telling him the party's canceled? What? Why wouldn't you just tell him to come to Club 662? That whole thing was weird to me. Yeah. So okay. So enough of you do agree with me. I didn't necessarily say it was garbage. I just said I'm not convinced yet. Doesn't mean I couldn't be. Let's see. Yeah, you don't think Sugar's involved. Yeah. Yeah. The line between Tupac's Atlanta case and NYC setup. Now this could be. This could be. Check the timeline between the Tupac and his Atlanta case and the NYC setup rape case with Haitian Jack, Ricky Lee. That could be, there could be a connection there. Yeah. What else do we have? Wait, what? Tupac was the target. Tupac was pressuring Puffy's friends for his address. Oh. Do you have evidence of this though? That's the thing. You can say this, but there's gotta be evidence of it. That could be. What if Suge was actually the primary target? But I would think they would have shot on the other side of the car. But yeah, that could very well be. Michael Moore supposedly died after getting heat exhaustion in his attic. Now that is an interesting way to die. I'm not sure I've ever heard of somebody dying from heat exhaustion in their own attic. Is that code for he was killed and it made to look like an accident? What else here? Yes, I'm sorry. I am reading the post. It's hard to keep up. I'm trying to get to all the there's so much going on. Wait, what does this one say? Tupac and Reggie Wright. Tupac fired Reggie Wright and audited death row. Orlando was staged there. Every eyewitness was murdered because cops were involved in covering it up. Suge paid Orlando $60K money for his role. See, that's interesting. And all that stuff, I mean, it could fit together. So, yeah. Oh, Reggie had a proffer for the Biggie murder, huh? Interesting. What's this? Reggie has immunity on this case for Biggie and Tupac. He was involved with multi-kilo drug stuff with Grape Street Crips. Do not dismiss people's trace of this as conspiracy. He has immunity on this case? If he has immunity on this case, then that means that he did some things that potentially would incriminate him. So what does he have? I understand you're saying he has immunity for this case, but like, what did he say? What evidence or information did he give that implicates himself then that he would need immunity on this case? You know, if you understand what I'm asking, then why would Reggie need immunity on this case? I mean, I know a few reasons potentially, but like that he would actually or has actually told the police. Like, do you understand what I'm asking? On Facebook, I'm at David Otunga on Facebook. Yeah, should be easy to find, I think. Wait, what? The same cops that supposedly shot Tupac also got in trouble for robbing a bank. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I heard about that. Yeah. So they could have been the ones in the Cadillac, the two, but they wouldn't have. They weren't working for themselves. Somebody had to hire them for this. Who would that be? All right. Let's see what else. Wait, what? Robert Ladd did an interview with Vlad where he provided paperwork from an informant that said Reggie Wright Jr. had Biggie Smalls killed. Wow. Wow. I need to see that. That Reggie had Biggie Smalls killed, huh? Paperwork from paperwork from an informant, which means could be, but also informants don't always tell the truth. They could be. They could be. This could be legit. It's interesting. It's interesting. I need to know more about it. I was kind of hoping Keefe to take the stand and impeach Reggie through his testimony. I was hoping Keefe would take the stand too. However, he didn't need to. I think it was the right call by his attorney. He did not need to. What else? All right. All right. Well, this is new. This is interesting. I see in the comments people are tired of me even entertaining the body double. Hey, who is it? Machiavelli. Sorry, buddy. I'm open-minded enough. I'm trying to entertain your body double theory, but people are mad in the comments. They're calling it nonsense. Why am I even entertaining you and wasting time talking about this? If I were closed-minded, I would just do that. Anyway, last one on this. The theory is that there was still a hit on Pac after multiple attempts. So his mother and the Black Panthers faked his death to avoid a real killing. I don't really believe it, but that's the theory. See, I could see that. I don't necessarily believe it either, but that at least I entertain that. Okay, have to hear more about it, but could make some sense. Yeah, Mike Tyson has always maintained that the big after party was going to happen at Club 662. Mike chose to go home and spend time with his newborn daughter instead. The house party narrative is new. Yeah, that was new to me on here. Let's see. Yeah. What's odd to me is that both Michael Moore and Alexander died in 2013. My question to you, as a lawyer, what are the chances they both got placed in witness protection? I think pretty low. I think I don't, unless I don't know, but from my understanding, I think you guys think that a lot more people are in witness protection than actually are, because usually somebody's in witness protection, and then they testify against somebody and use that information like in court, and then they can be witness protection for the rest of their life. But like, there's something that like that costs money and things like the state has to pay for it, but there's a trade-off. Like, why would both Moore and Alexander be put into witness protection? So I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying what would be the reason? if they were put into witness protection to testify against who? And that would be 13 years ago that they were put into witness protection. But 30 years since this incident happened. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Oh, yep. And that's where Reggie Wright Jr. made this story up about Keefe because he had to trade something to get out of that case of Biggie and get the proffer. So he threw Keefe under the bus. That could be. That could be. It definitely could be. Let's see. Man, there's a lot. Okay. I got time for a couple more. Let's see. Reggie likely gave up information on his own involvement in racketeering at Death Row. You're right way. Murder Death Row, etc. The seed money, story of Harry, etc. All right. Michael Moore's wife said she found him. He fell down the stairs. Interesting. Wait, what else do we got here? Keefe said if Reggie said he deleted Tupac, then he deleted Biggie. Huh. Could be. I'm curious what evidence they have on that, like, and what his proffer contains. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Anyway, man, this has been fun. Definitely fun interacting with you guys. This case is interesting. I could stay on here all day, but I got to go do some other stuff. However, tomorrow, I don't believe they're televising the jury instructions, but they are on Monday. They're going to televise the closing arguments. That will be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a verdict on later on Monday. I would not be surprised. I don't think the jury is going to deliberate long. If not Monday, maybe Tuesday, but I could see Monday. Thank you. I appreciate it. Soggy Sports. Thank you guys. Yes, I would have loved it if Suge was on the stand. He was unwilling to cooperate, but that would have been interesting. I thought I heard that too, that they found the car in David Mack's garage from the Biggie case. I remember hearing that too. It seems like that's the other thing. It seems like they were clearly, or he was clearly involved in that. He's deceased though. Am I correct? Savage Noel, thank you, brother. Always fun. Thank you for contributing. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right, guys. It's been fun, and I will catch you guys on a Monday. Wait. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, he was supposedly a blood also. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Well, guys, have a great night. Before I log off, what should I research? What videos, documentaries should I watch? Give me the best. Savage Noel, you tell me. A couple of you other guys that got the good stuff. Stans Hall, what's a good one? Boss Man. What do you guys have? What are some good ones that actually have legit? I don't want. Hey, I'm a lawyer, so I don't want nonsense ones. I want stuff that have actual legitimate like information, legitimate evidence, like photos, screenshots, stuff that's legit. Actual interviews. I'd stick with the facts. I'm a lawyer. I'm not interested in rumors and stuff like that. So what do we have that's good? Watch the Phil Carson versus Reggie Wright one. I'll watch that. Is there a title for it or just Let me write that down. Phil Carson, Reggie Wright. Tina Washington, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. Straight Game. What's this one about? Working for Night. Okay. Do I think Davis Lawyer watches these videos? Which videos? The ones I'm asking about, the conspiracy ones, maybe. Or do you mean my live streams? I don't know. That's happened in the past when I was doing court TV. I wish the prosecution would watch my live stream. They might learn a couple things. I'm laughing, but I'm actually serious. What else do we got? Art of Dialogue with Suge Knight saying who did. Wait, really? Oh, I'm gonna look that up. I like Art of Dialogue. Tupac cover up, Choke No Joke, research Tupac's bootleg songs. Choke No Joke. Okay. All right. Ooh. Beware of any evidence that Kading's involved with. Yeah, I'm starting to see that. Oh, so these are YouTube channels: Choke No Joke, Straight Game, and Delray Richardson. Choke No Joke, Straight Game, Delray Richardson. All right, cool. That'll give me some fun stuff to do. How do I study? Looking young. I appreciate that. What do you mean? How do I study? I don't know what you mean. I read, watch the docs. I don't know, but thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, how do I stay? Thank you. Yeah, and I work out a lot. I'm getting ready to go to the gym. Anyway. Right away. Also. Okay. All right, guys. Sounds good. I'm gonna leave for the night and go to the gym and then do some research. And you never know. If they have something on tomorrow, I may jump on. So check it out. If not, I will be back on Monday. We'll resume, we'll watch, we'll talk about the theories, we'll talk about what we find out, and I'm thinking we're gonna get a verdict. So anyway, all right, guys. Hope you guys all have a blessed night, and we'll talk again on Monday. So take care.